All right. Good evening, everyone. How are you all tonight? Coury is out tonight. I forget exactly what the reason was. He told me like 2 weeks ago, and then I forgot. And then I was like, oh crap, I better go ask people if they can guest on the stream tonight. And luckily, our friend Josh here from the Still Loading podcast was able to pop on in. So thanks so much for joining on late notice.
No problem. Thank you for having me on. And I'm grateful I could convince you to play Nightfire because, man, I love this game. I played it so much when it was like contemporary, and it's low key. I get a little bit of a hot take. I think I kind of like it a little bit more than GoldenEye.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because companies like EA and Activision were always trying to chase that unexpected success that GoldenEye had. I don't think anyone saw that coming,
No,
And
I don't think Rare did.
no, I don't think they did at all. It was like I think they were kind of just like stuck with this license that they almost didn't know what to do with, and I don't think they even knew what they had. And so yeah, and EA and Activision, they're always trying to chase that, but I'm not sure if there has been a Bond game since GoldenEye that has like generally been like universally considered great. Like there's definitely people like you who will like pick a couple of them like Nightfire and be like, yeah, you know what? I actually really like that one. But there's like that universal acclaim seems to have eluded the Bond games ever since.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why that is because I think well, yeah, I don't know why that is because I actually think the PS2 era of Bond games was overall pretty solid. Like nothing, anything completely groundbreaking,
Right.
but like,
Everything or Nothing tended to be pretty well reviewed, if I recall.
Everything or Nothing is well reviewed. So is actually the From Russia with Love game, which is
Oh,
one of the most odd ideas I've seen because
yeah.
From Russia with Love was the second Bond movie, came out, I want to say in 63. Yeah, 63. And they brought Connery back to voice James Bond in the
Yeah.
game. But it's very much like you could tell he's aged about 40 some odd years in between um, the movie and the game. What's even weirder is that they added two new characters that were not part of the original movie, and they are played by Natasha Bedingfield and Maria Menounos, and they both get like maybe 5 minutes worth of playtime. Like she shows up like especially Natasha Bedingfield. She shows up out of nowhere and is done within less than half a mission. It's really
Wow.
it's really bizarre.
Well, I mean, speaking of Sean Connery and From Russia with Love, I kind of got on a Bond kick. Every time I talk to you about James Bond, like I get like in a Bond mode for a while because you have your like Still Loading podcast, which everyone should
hmm
look up. It's a good time. Mostly sort of like a retro gaming podcast, and you've had me and Coury on as guests several times.
Yeah.
But you also, for your Patreon subscribers, have a Patreon exclusive James Bond podcast where you go through each movie and kind of go just scene by scene through the
In
movie with
excruciating detail, much to the chagrin of many of my guests. Yeah, it's called Still Bonding, and we do like full like when I say deep dives, I mean we go through the movies beat by beat, scene by scene, and like most Bond movies are what like 2 hours, and I would say the shortest episode, which was Doctor No, was 2.5 hours, and then what is it? We did License to Kill a couple months ago, and that was 4.5 hours. Like no episode is shorter than the movie. The one that I'm a little nervous about is when we get to No Time to Die, because that movie's 2 hours and 45 minutes, which by still bonding metrics means that it's going to be like 5 hours long. I'm a
how
little
you don't
worried.
have the time to record that one. But
I'm scared. It's going to have to be on like a weekend night, and hopefully people don't mind being able to sleep in the next day.
Yeah, well, but anyway, like, so the reason I bring that up is because you invited me on to talk about Live and Let Die sometime last year, and like that got me in this Bond mode, and I was like, because these games like Nightfire and stuff, like I used to have the GameCube version of this, but I sold it at some point. I never finished it. I don't even remember playing that far into it. Um, but then, like, I went to, I mean, almost any game store you have, like, they're going to have, like, almost all of, like, that Xbox PS2 era
Yep.
Bond games, and they're all, like, $5.
Well, I mean,
Some
there
of
was
them,
they released on every console. There was
yeah,
a good number of them because each one kind of experimented with the formula. Uh, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the first one. It was you know what? I have a list. Just give me 2 seconds because where are you at? Agent Under Fire. That's the one I could think of. That one added like Bond moments and where like if you did something cool that kind of Bondian quote unquote, it would have like a big 007 splash and you hear
yeah, yeah.
it was really cool. Some of it was kind of anticlimactic. Like the first one in the entire game is like an alarm goes off and you hear footsteps around the corner down the hallway, so you just hide behind some boxes and the guards will just like run past you and go out the other way and you hear banana, banana, banana. I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, hiding behind boxes, Bond moment, I got
I
this.
do remember that, actually, yes. But yeah, so this one, you were talking about From Russia with Love, which if I recall, so again, the only game from that era that I played all the way through was Agent Under Fire.
Mm.
And I also at some point had Everything or Nothing. Again, bought the GameCube version. I was telling you before we started the stream, like I had a tendency to buy multi-platform games on GameCube back then because, often the GameCube was more, the more performant or more visually impressive version than the PS2 version. I didn't have an Xbox at the time. And I just I defaulted to Nintendo at the time. And of course, that was the last generation where Nintendo's hardware was, in the same ballpark in terms of power relative to its
Yep.
competitors. So I just defaulted to the GameCube as a Nintendo guy. But in retrospect, and I have discovered revisiting some of those games that I played at that time on GameCube, revisiting them on PS2 or Xbox, I've kind of come to realize okay, these games are actually a fair bit better than I remembered playing them on GameCube, just because that GameCube controller is really not set up for first person, I found like games like Time Splitters 2, for instance, blew me away when I revisited on PS2. And back when I played on GameCube, I thought it was just okay. And it's just all that difference in just those proper dual sticks with the round pivot point is just so much better, I think, for first person. I saw real quick here, we got notification from my good old friend Enchilada. Notification, he's been a member for 6 months. Thank you. Saying, ahoy, gentlemen. Good day to make Mr. Bond jump, sweat, and possibly die. Also, happy Cinco de Mayo. Enjoy the tacos if you eat them. I avoided Mexican restaurants today specifically just because I was afraid of it being too crowded.
Smart choice. Smart choice.
Maybe someday later this week when I won't expect it to be crowded. But yeah, so but anyway, I've gone off on all these ramblings to bring up the point you mentioned From Russia with Love, which has Sean Connery doing the voice of Bond. This on the back of the box for Nightfire here, it says all new storyline featuring Pierce Brosnan as James Bond. I'm pretty sure it's just his likeness though.
It's just his likeness. There's no voice. You can hear it right away.
Yeah.
What I'm really excited for you to
very
see.
much like him.
What I'm really excited for you to see is how they kind of treat this game compared to the previous ones, because this one, it very much feels like, what if we try to take a Bond movie, like a Bond movie, not just adapt a Bond movie into a video game, but let's just try to make a video game in the same style as a Bond movie. It's really hard to explain, but you'll see what I mean when you play the first mission and then kind of see what happens from there.
And by the way, last thing I want to point out, for some reason, the case that this copy of Nightfire was in Well, I mean, this is like a legit, like, paper insert, and it didn't have a manual, but, all legit pieces, except this is a Platinum Hits, but it's a green case, and there is a officially licensed PGA Tour sticker stuck on it. And at first I was like, is there like some sort of like golf related stuff later on in Nightfire? And then I eventually figured out, wait, it's a Platinum Hits. It should have been a silver case. So somehow at some point the paper insert got swapped into a into a golf game case, and I kept funny. That sticker on because I thought it was really funny. So
that's really funny. What would be like a Bond golfing game even look like?
I mean,
is he like
going
shooting golf balls
right?
with pistols? Like what a par 3 is just like you have to shoot it 3 times in hopes that it gets into the hole.
I went ahead and switched over to the game view here, but real quick, I want to note the Tinderbrew $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Saying, "Sup, dudes? Happy Endless Ocean Week." I have one of the Endless Ocean games on the Wii, and I just sampled it a little bit. I kind of like the vibe of it, but I've not really dug in. I forgot that there is that new one coming out on Switch, I think. And then there was also a $5 super chat from our good friend Jonathan Henson. Thank you so much, saying, "Hey Josh, love your podcast, man. Just finished up the Growing Up Genesis episode. Great to see you here with my bud Try."
Thank you. Shout out to G to the Next Level, another YouTuber. Actually, he was on that episode with me.
All right, well, I'm going to get started. I actually started a. I will attempt. The default seems to be operative, but I will attempt agent. I did just play the opening mission just to make sure everything was working right. But just to give people that flavor of what they're trying to go for with this game, I'll do this sort of. It's kind of this on rails sort of action sequence. It's like it kind of seems designed where you really can't mess up in this opening scene here. And of course, they have to have the shiny CG version that they do in all of the Brosnan movies of the gun barrel. And of course, Bond is CG here.
I'm not going to lie. I think Pierce Brosnan does the best gun barrel out of all the Bonds. Not saying he's the best Bond. But I think he does the best gun barrel. Like the way he kind of turns and fires is pretty sudden.
I gotta say, like I never thought Sean Connery or Roger Moore were very good at it.
Well, Sean Connery didn't do the gun barrel for the first 3 or 4 movies. It was a stuntman.
Right.
They just never replaced it for the first 3 or 4 movies. I forget who it was. Bob Simmons, I want to say, was the stuntman who did that. Yeah, he wears the hat. Yeah, he wears the hat. And then it's not until I want to say either Thunderball or for You Only Live Twice that Connery actually does. I don't remember which. It's one of those two though.
Speaking of, I mentioned that I tended to, go down a Bond rabbit hole when I was on your podcast for Die Another Day.
I'm sorry once again for making you watch that.
Well, last year, when I was in Bond mode, I was watching all of the movies that or a lot of the ones that I felt like, man, it's been a long, I might have not even seen this one since high school. I just, some of them had been a really long time, and I was like, I want to rewatch. I know some of the ones that I haven't watched in a long time are some of the less good ones, but I just wanted to rewatch some of them, and some of them really surprised me. I thought when I watched last year, Diamonds Are Forever. I hadn't watched that in a long time, and I was like, this one is a lot more fun than I remembered. That one impressed me. I thought On Her Majesty's Secret Service was pretty good. For Your Eyes Only, I enjoyed. So then after I was on your Die Another Day, I kind of got back into a mode for a bit. And the ones I watched were Thunderball, and it's official, but not Eon. It's Never Say Never Again, which is another weird example of Sean Connery coming back.
Which is essentially Thunderball, but in 1983 with a nearly 20-year older Sean Connery.
Yeah.
That one's super interesting too, because that was at a time when, they wanted to. There's a lot of legal battles going on, because Thunderball the movie was the novel was written by Ian Fleming and a guy named Kevin McClory,
right?
And originally Ian Fleming didn't even credit him when they were working on a screenplay. It ended up getting scrapped, and then Ian Fleming said, screw it, I'm going to release it as a book anyway. Never gave credit to McClory for his contributions on the script portion of it, which shaped the story of the novel that he eventually ended up writing. And because of that whole thing, McClory sued Ian Fleming and in turn Eon Productions, and they made like a little agreement where McClory could become an executive producer on a movie, and then by doing so, it would give the Bond producers the rights to use the stuff that McClory helped create in Thunderball, which is Ernst Stavro Blofeld,
right.
And Spectre.
This is why it took so long for Blofeld to come back.
Yes, and that's why it took so long for him to come back, because it was literally held up in legal rights. There's a reason that after Diamonds Are Forever, you never see him in a Bond movie. They allude to him in For Your Eyes Only in 1981, but they don't ever reference him by name. They just put him in a wheelchair, have him with a white cat, and then they drop him in a smokestack as a way to be like, get out of here. You're gone. Forget this. But the reason why that's important, though, all the weird, I don't know exactly all the details of the legal shenanigans and all that other stuff, but he, because of all that, in 1983, he won a lawsuit where he was allowed to use anything in Thunderball, anything at all, including James Bond. And so he worked with Sony to then make his own James Bond movie, essentially to rival Roger Moore's movie at the same time, which was, I don't know if I could say it on stream. Octo P. I'll just leave it at that.
Sure. That was one of the movies I watched a few weeks ago as well. That was that one was I never remember that being one of the better ones, but it was definitely, once Roger Moore just gets it's crazy how much he ages over the course of his tenure. Like, once Roger Moore gets too old to play Bond, it's like, man.
Yeah, I mean, in his last Bond movie too, he was like 55, 56.
I mean, he's like, what, 2 or 3 years older than Connery as it is?
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because when he did Live and Let Die, he looked younger than Connery did, even though he was 2 years older than Connery at the in general. Yeah. Well, I mean, I just another one I watched in recent weeks was The Man with the Golden Gun, which I love that movie.
Which
it's unironically, it's a silly movie. Christopher Lee is fantastic, silly, but I love that movie.
Come on, Christopher Lee is in it. You can't, anything with Christopher Lee in it, he elevates like anything he's in like 200%. But I mean, like, he just looks so much more the right age to be Bond, I would say, in The Man with the Golden Gun versus 9 years, I think like 9 or 10 years later in Octopussy, and it's just like, he's just so old in those 80s movies.
It's funny because in Octopussy, he's like, he feels old, but he doesn't feel too over the hill. He's like just on the cusp.
Yeah.
But in A View to a Kill, he looks way up there. Apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently they would put flour in his hair to make it appear thicker on camera. I don't know if that's true or not. I heard that on a podcast, so take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, it's awesome. And real quick, I did see. I think there was a super chat in here earlier, and there's one that someone asked me if I have ever read any of the Ian Fleming novels. And the answer is not yet. I've actually read about half of the first one, Casino Royale, and I'd have to get up to get them. I have a stack of them. I have a bunch of them in paperback form, so I have them all ready to read. I just have to find time to read it.
Real quick, I want to grab this before I jump into the next level. I want to. There was I believe that might be a 10 reals from A14. Thank you. Saying a PlayStation fan friend told me he thinks Sony is more versatile than Nintendo because they produce more diverse games, not only iterations over the same IPs. What do you think? I mean, Sony. That is a statement I might have used to. I might have agreed with like Sony from a few years ago, but like once they closed down Japan studio and like now everything has to be like this like AAA masterpiece. Like everything is like open world and sad dad games and like, you know, cinematic tear jerkers and stuff. Like now I feel like Sony has really, I mean, I like a lot of those games, don't get me wrong, but I feel they have really severely pigeonholed themselves into this like, you know, go big or go home kind of mentality. And I feel like Nintendo, by keeping this, you know, sometimes they've got really big games, sometimes they've got nice little small games. You know, I feel like they are more diverse and versatile in that capacity. But man, like Japan studio, I mean, especially like the Astrobot team, I mean, they really are putting out like, you know, Nintendo quality platformers and stuff, or at least they are capable of it. But now it's like, I think Japan studio has just been reduced to the Astrobot team and we have no idea what they're really working on. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Apparently my voice is low. My Joshua Eicher says my voice is low. Does anyone else agree?
I can't. You sound good to me, but I'm also on Discord, so I don't know.
It shouldn't. Try quiet. Josh kind of loud. So people may just. I did.
I can back up from my microphone a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, I had reduced.
Okay, no, I'm loud. All right, let me back up a little bit from my microphone.
Well, here I'm reducing you a bit.
Adjust my volume a little bit.
Fine.
Hopefully it's a little bit better.
Okay, so now raise your volume back up, and because my volume should be the same that it always is from stream to stream.
Wait, so do you want me to lower my volume, or did you lower it?
I already did. I lowered your volume on my end. Do we sound a little bit more balanced? Now, I mean, I can maybe make a small adjustment on my mixer, but it should be perfect. Now it's perfect.
Okay. Everyone's saying perfect. So
all right.
We'll go with that. Sorry.
But anyway,
about that.
so yeah, I'll
funny.
jump into this next mission.
Good evening, 007.
It's funny whenever I do record podcasts, my mic is always the loudest, so I should have known that ahead of time.
NATO has advised that recovery is critical. Should an unfriendly power reverse engineer.
All right, I'm also a little bit farther away from the mic, so hopefully that'll be good. Did you get to see like the whole
subtitles when I was testing out the game earlier, but I don't know why they're not playing.
Did you get to see the cold open theme song that they went for?
Yes, it's much shorter than like a normal Bond intro, but yeah, I mean, you know, they're really going for it here.
I thought that was cool. That was something I hadn't seen in a Bond game yet, especially with an original title. It's a game with an original story, not based off a movie, which is not the first time they've done that in Bond games, but it is one of like the earliest.
Well, I think
it's one of the best examples of it.
I think it's the first time they did an original story with the likeness of the current actor.
The first, actually, it's funny. The first Bond game that I could find because I did a panel last year on the history of James Bond and video games. There was a 1982 game for the ZX Spectrum, and called Shaken Not Stirred, and that had an original story, but it wasn't really based on any specific Bond. It also probably wasn't licensed, because the henchmen in the games were, instead of knick-knack, it was tic-tac. Instead of jaws, it was paws. Stuff like that. So they tried. It's an interesting game. I didn't get to play it myself because I don't have a Spectrum, but I watched some gameplay of it, and it was honestly kind of interesting to see something in 1982 for it.
I saw someone earlier say like, "Oh, I hope you're playing with the big chunky Xbox controller." I do not like original Xbox controllers, even the S. So I'm using the wireless Brook adapter with a Series X controller.
Now, something fun that I noticed, that I remember from the mission you're on right now. At one point, you get a sniper rifle. I think it might be at the top of the tower. I know I'm watching the stream on my phone,
Oh, I already
so I'm
have
probably
one,
a few seconds
looks
behind.
like.
But oh, you already have one. Okay, so what you can do with it is, if you see a guy off in the distance and you want to conserve your sniper ammo, zoom all the way in, because there's no breathing, right? Like your weapon doesn't sway with breathing like in like more modern FPSs.
right,
So if you zoom
right.
all the way in at a guy and then switch over to a pistol, don't actually move the reticle or whatever, the center, you can just switch to a pistol and then it'll just hit him from that distance. You can save your sniper ammo that way.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, because everything is like very rigid and solid here. That is really funny. Wow.
Yeah.
And of course, even if you didn't conserve your ammo, even if you didn't conserve your ammo, you could still, I would think, even if you ran out of ammo, you could still like oops. Keep hitting the wrong button to, let's see, A button reloads. Okay. Even if you didn't conserve your ammo, though, like you could still probably zoom in and then switch to another gun. Whoa!
Oh yeah.
Oh. Okay then. Actually, hang on. I'm going to quit real quick because I swear I went into options and turned on subtitles, and for some reason it did not stick. Okay.
There he goes, right off the ledge. It took a little bit for the stream to catch up for me.
Yeah, it'll do that.
But now I'm actually more caught back up. I can see you jumping back into the mission. What was also cool about Nightfire was that this had some of the better. It actually had really good multiplayer. Like you could play with 4 friends. I would always play with a bunch, and you could put bots on if you wanted to. And then they had like there was just a ton of variety with the weapons. Like there was, I think you get it in a later mission, but there's a missile launcher. Excuse me. There's a missile launcher that when you shoot, it actually lets you guide the missile. When I say guide the missile, it goes into a first-person version of the camera of the missile, so you can steer the missile like it's in first person, and you can just guide it around. And you can honestly, if you really want to, you could use it for like spying if you really want. I mean, it's a little loud, obviously, but you know, PS2 video game logic means as long as you don't blow it up near the enemies, they're not going to be alerted to it. So you could technically fire it around corners and just use it to spy on people if you wanted to.
Wow. Well, you know, when Coury and I were at the Music City Multicon in Tennessee, Coury's kids came with him, and you know, it was like the first gaming con that they had been to, so it was kind of neat. Anyway, his son wanted me to play. I'm pretty sure it was Agent Under Fire. It wasn't this, but like they had like a GameCube set up with Agent Under Fire multiplayer, and you know, he's like, well, this is a weird controller, and he found the controls in Agent Under Fire to be very difficult. And then later he was looking at, a GameCube with Smash Brothers Melee set up. And he's like, he sees the controller. He's like, ooh, but I don't want to play a game with that controller. I'm like, you should not judge this controller based on Agent Under Fire. Like, you have no idea like how obsessed people are with this controller for that game specifically.
That is an understatement to say the least. The fact that Nintendo had to make an adapter for the Wii U and the Wii just to actually no, the Wii had it built in, but the Wii U and the Switch, just to play GameCube or just to plug in a GameCube controller is wild. I feel like Nintendo is really good at making controllers for hyper specific gameplay styles, but it's not it. You know what I mean? Like the Switch is the first one that you can kind of do a little bit of everything in a while. But like the N64 was great, but it was very specific. Like it was well made for specifically Mario 64, but it's also geared towards other games on it. GameCube, same thing. The GameCube controller is geared towards Nintendo's games. And it doesn't really like you were saying, it's not really conducive for first person shooters.
No.
The Wii wasn't really conducive
and
for
furthermore,
first-person
like
shooters either.
the control layout, and that was at least the way it was configured on that system was, pretty antiquated. I mean, I was trying to explain to Corey's son, like, they hadn't figured this stuff out yet, They hadn't really figured out how should we configure first person controls on a console, and just the
that's what's so
design
interesting
in general. Like they were still figuring it out, and so something like this, like it's kind of crazy. Like this, Agent of Fire was a 2001 game, and this is 2002. I'm not sure, what the months were, but.
You can change the control scheme to something more modern-esque, like more Halo-esque. No, it's wild. I did an episode. But in both this and Agent Under Fire, you can generally, if you look at the controller schemes, you can pick something where the left joystick is move forward, move backward, strafe left, strafe right, and the right joystick is look around. What's crazy, though, in some older PS1 games even, I did an episode last year on the original Medal of Honor, and that game actually, if you look in the controller schemes, they actually have it set up that if you can do that, you can have the left joystick be forward, backward, strafe left, strafe right, and use the right joystick to look around. But it's not the default, so most people didn't really go in and look around for that. And it wasn't until Halo that kind of popularized that whole, first-person shooter controller scheme. And it's wild to me that you could even do it in Medal of Honor, because I until I was doing research for that episode, I played that game a ton as a kid, and I remember you would hit X to fire in that game. And as an adult, going back to play it, I'm like, this is really hard to grasp again. But if you go into the settings, you can actually set R1. It's not like you can manually. It's not like you have to do a manual configuration. It's a pre-encode or whatever, a preset. That's the word I'm looking for. It's a preset, and you can actually change it, and you can have it so R1 can fire. It's kind of wild.
I grabbed the PS1 version of The World Is Not Enough the other month because it was like $3 at the game store, so I was like, why not? And I didn't play much. I just played a little.
I'd give that dive a 3, actually.
The default was shoot on the face buttons. And I was like, oh, I'm going to put it on a shoulder button. But then once I actually started playing, I was like, oh, I kind of feel like it actually would be better on the face button. What am I supposed to do? I have gadgets? Do I?
You should. I don't remember the button configuration for it though. You could try hitting start, or try just hitting the action button.
Yeah, I was trying that.
No. Oh, use the laser watch. Okay, yeah, there is. Jara. I'm sorry if I get your name wrong. they said use the laser watch, so you should be able to try hitting start. You might be able to like go through gadgets. Oh, controls. What do controls say?
Let's see. Oh, cycle gadgets is D-pad. Oh, there's
There
also
you go.
up and down D-pad that can also cycle weapons. Okay.
This is super random. I'm just kind of thinking about like, we've been.
Whoops.
What did you just use? I didn't see.
I
What...
used
Oh,
I used the laser watch, but on the wrong
here comes the bad
wire.
guys. There you go.
Hopefully the alarm dies down. Have you ever played the GBA version of this?
No, I own it though. I actually have a boxed copy of it. I have yet to actually play the GBA version of this.
It's like, I mean, it's like,
I think
it's like
still
a 3D game.
shooter though. Yeah. We brought up Medal of Honor earlier. They also did a Medal of Honor game. They ported Medal of Honor Underground. Yeah, that's the second one. Underground to the Game Boy Advance, and it's a first-person shooter on the GBA.
Wow.
It's not good. It's not good. Like there's really bad Jara. Okay. Sorry. Just want to make sure I got Jara's name correct. They did the GBA port of Medal of Honor Underground is really bad. Like you can see, like they couldn't render like the archways like on the side, like the side of a street or something like that. And so instead they just put it on a texture, which makes sense. But the problem is that the texture warps the closer and farther away you get from it. So the closer you get to it, it really hyper zooms in. But you can tell it zooming in because then there's like archways that just disappear around corners and stuff like that. It's really wonky. And real quick, a bit of a non sequitur, but I wanted to bring this up before I forgot. I didn't know I had it near me. Did you know, Try, as you're an RPG fan, you're not normally known for your first person shooter games and whatnot.
No.
Did you know there is a tabletop James Bond RPG?
Really? Wow. No, I wouldn't have guessed
Here's
that.
the box of it.
Wow. Is
I
that
actually have
I mean, is it it doesn't look like a recent thing.
No, very much not. Came out in the 70s, maybe early 80s. Let me see what the copyright is on this. Copyright 1983. But I have like the rule book and everything here.
Wow.
And it has some dice. I don't know if it's a complete set. I got it a while ago. I got it at a convention. I'm like, what? There's a James Bond tabletop game?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. But I also have a whole stack. It's clear like no one touched this thing. I have a stack of blank character sheets and everything.
Wow. That's amazing.
And it has stats like strength, dexterity, willpower, perception, intelligence. But yeah, it's wild. There we go. Let me put all this stuff back.
Oh.
I just had to share it. I appreciate it.
Well, it's probably for the best that I got shot and killed because I was pretty done hearing that alarm going on forever.
Usually there's a way you can turn off the alarms.
Oh, well,
But I don't know.
I screwed up by,
I don't know if I remember it.
by hitting the wire. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's actually kind of a trip to like watch this game again because I played it so much. It's been a minute since I have replayed it, but I loved this game so much. The villain kind of reminds me a little bit of Drax, like Hugo Drax from Moonraker. Because this game does you do end up like going to space and whatnot. It's pretty awesome. Going.
Oh, it says Searchlight Circuit Breaker. Oh wait, what's? Oh, I guess it's probably nothing.
Okay, good. You got some body armor too. I know there you go.
I can
This
probably
level is a bit of a maze,
safely
too.
leave that alone.
I mean, you could probably do it in that way. No one can turn on the alarms at all on you. So, like, if you,
I guess I need to be
Like,
really
I would-
careful about where I shoot. Let's see. Can I? Okay, I can move. Okay, I can move that. Okay, so clearly I want to shoot. Oh, okay. Okay. So that was search lights. Okay, it was not actually an alarm, but if I screw it up, the alarm goes off.
there you go. And there's a 007 move too.
Yep.
But yeah, I remember in this multiplayer, I played this a ton with friends back when I was in like high school and junior high, and we had it was our own game mode that we called 2 for the price of 10 because you would play on, I forget the name of the level, but it was very small. It was inside, I think there's I think it was inside the main and like the enemy's main base from the game, but obviously they turned it into like this enclosed multiplayer level.
Right.
And we would play that with nothing but explosives, and that level was also the smallest. And we would play with nothing but explosives, so every time you shot anywhere, you were almost guaranteed to hurt yourself by accident because it was so small and explosives were going everywhere. So that's why we called it 2 for the price of 10, because almost every time you would almost end up killing yourself. What we would end up doing, just so we couldn't give the AI bots the satisfaction of getting like a point, if we were close if our health was low and we were just about to run out, we would just run into the pit in the center, and we would lose a point for it, but the AI bots wouldn't get one. So it would be like 50-1 or 50-0, excuse me. And I think I would give my friends grief if they did end up getting killed by an AI bot before they could like kind of finish themselves off in the middle thing. It was wild.
Me and my friends did a very similar thing with Perfect Dark back in the day, because you could rename, or you could make like preset scenarios and save them with a name. And what we did was we would like just make like a preset with like nothing but explosive weapons, and we called it Fire-Aga. That was one of our go-to custom modes.
Henry Studio CA asked if they could use 2 for the price of 10 as a title of a comic. By all means, I'm not going to copyright that. Go for it. Go for it. Oh, that I wouldn't shoot them if they. Sorry, I'm probably like 4 seconds behind now. There's a whole. What's interesting too about or I should say, what's interesting. What I remember about this game too is after this mission, there's like you have to go undercover at a party or something like that. So like you shoot your way into there, and then you just are chilling in a party. And I'm thinking like that would be so weird. Like there's no way the party would still be going on if some random maniac, even if they have no way of knowing it was you, like all of the guards were just murdered outside, and everyone's like, it's fine. It's fine. Party's still going on. You hear the music stop? No.
Yeah. Well, am I remembering right that there's like a skiing level?
Probably. There
maybe,
was.
I remember playing a little ways into this, but not that far. So and this was like back when it was new, so I don't remember a lot.
It might be. The only skiing level I can think of is from The World Was Done Enough for the 64, because I actually guested on another podcast. That episode's not going to be out for a little while, but guested on the Remember 64 podcast to talk about the World's Not Enough for the N64, and there is a skiing level in that where you're just going down a ski slope and just shooting people, and you also have to blow up a bunch of fuel depots. It's kind of wild. We got another super chat also from Enchilada.
Thank you again.
A great memory of us playing Perfect Dark, how we did one-hit kills with lasers and stand indoors and have the bots run into lasers, and we would laugh.
Yes, so Enchilada is a friend of mine from way back in the day. Yes. Now that he says that, oh man, I mean, me and my friends really like just playing against bots more than anything.
Dude, same. Absolutely same. I feel you on that.
Because I mean, we were all different skill levels. Like going against humans, I've never been a good competitor in shooter games, right? So it was always just more fun for us. Same thing with Smash Brothers. It was always just more fun for us to go against bots. And we'd come up with all sorts of funny scenarios. We would choose we would make the bots with the biggest body and then the alien head. So sometimes so that they'd just be these really hard to miss targets. I mean, we just did lots of silly stuff.
I always play bots in pretty much anything that I can. I found that when I play against people, even if I'm, I found when I play against actual people, unless I'm good, I get really mad, and I'm not necessarily I don't take it out on anyone anymore. When I was younger, and you're a sore loser. I was definitely that when I was a teenager. I've matured enough, but I still don't like that feeling. So I just don't put myself into that situation. Now I'll play with friends, but against bots. That's what I enjoy doing. Yeah. And then if I want more of a challenge, I'll up the difficulty because I'm not going for competitive play. I do this in RTS games. I do this in first-person shooters. Halo's the only one I kind of one, it doesn't have bots in, but two, I'm able to separate that competitive bad side of myself with from it because I just like Halo so much. I played put in perspective for my bachelor party, but when I got married, before I got married, I went out to eat, went to a hockey game. And then we went back to my parents' house. I wasn't living at their house anymore. I went back to my parents' house, and we had a Halo party. We set up a bunch of TVs and Ethernet cables, and we hooked all the Xboxes up together, and we had a full-on old school Halo LAN party. I don't think we ordered pizza. We might have, but by the time the hockey game ended, it was 10 o'clock. So I think we played from 10 to 1 a.m. or something like that. It was a long session, but it was fun.
The guests won't take kindly to firearms. Keep them hidden to maintain
I would say that
profile.
Pierce Brosnan's likeness was much more convincing there in the real-time cutscene. Previously, I think we had only seen his face in the highly compressed FMV sequences. And it definitely looked a little
worse for wear.
Yes, it didn't work so well.
Yeah. One thing I love about PS2 era gaming is that it's a holdover a little bit. PS2 era first person shooters, I played a lot of Medal of Honor 2 on this, where enemies don't respawn after you kill them. So if you've got in a decent way into a level, you can just backtrack and it's this ghost town. Right. And I don't know what it is about that, but I kind of love it. And I don't know if that's nostalgia talking or if I actually genuinely like that.
It's just
versus,
I mean, it's kind of getting to explore the level just unimpeded, right?
Yeah, it allowed me to go around and explore, see things that I wouldn't have been able to see because I was getting shot at, where I can actually enjoy some of the artwork. And it was, or the designer's artistry, I guess.
Yeah.
It was almost kind of how can I like you would it was like contemplative, like you would think like you would just kind of go around and explore. I don't know, it was weird.
I
kind
actually
of
kind of had a similar experience recently, because it's not out yet, but I did a Xbox review of the Final Fantasy a review of the Xbox version of Final Fantasy 14 for Digital Foundry. Should come out soon, I imagine. But I did. There is something they call Explorer mode, where you can go into the dungeons without any other players and without any enemies. Like you can just like go into the dungeon and like freely explore it at your leisure without any other characters or enemies there. And you know, it is kind of like this, just kind of this nice experience to like get to like explore the levels without any, you know, anything working against you.
Yeah. I kind of miss that. I miss that, the ability to like you got through a section, you know, or whatever it is, and then I kind of miss that ability to free roam without like being unimpeded. It's like, you know, you've proven you've already gotten past the challenge. Now let people just kind of, I don't know, chill. I don't know. I miss that era, that almost that empty feeling of a level. Like it almost feels like you're walking through a ghost town. I brought up Medal of Honor Frontline earlier as well. There's like a mission. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name of the mission. It's like when you your paratroopers and you parachute into Operation Market Garden, I want to say, and you're in. I forget the name of the country, but I think it's called Haystacks or something like that, and you're going through like the Dutch countryside, and once you get through the level and you get through a certain bit, every now and then, you know, you would get through a tough section, you get shot a whole bunch, so you need health again, so you start backtracking through the level to see if there's any health that you missed prior, and you would just have time to just kind of look at everything and see different things. And every once in a while, there was always some enemy that you completely missed, and all of a sudden you get shot and you get killed anyway. But somehow, you know, you didn't see them the first time. It's very surreal, but I don't know. I love that sensation still of just like that, walking through this ghost town.
MI6 wants surveillance photos of that exchange.
Man, this guy so does not sound like Pierce Brosnan at all.
I would actually put the sound on my, because I have the stream up on my phone so I can see chat and everything. Because for the viewers out there, my internet's not great. So if you see my video being choppy at all, I'm trying to literally keep everything limited on my PC, so that way the video being sent to Try is good. Like, I don't even see Try on our call here. I only can see him through the stream, which is like a 5-second delay. So there's any delays with that. That's why. But I would turn up the sound on my stream, but I'm afraid that it would
it would echo back in
the microphone. So I'm just gonna kind of leave it as is.
It never works out.
I haven't played this game in earnest in like 7 years, so I'm really enjoying watching you go through it again.
Yeah, I mean, I do not remember it. Like, I remember that snowy level, but like I honestly could not tell you how far I played into it. I did buy it, but I know I didn't finish it, and I kind of feel like I didn't. But you know, again, it was with the GameCube controller, and I still had I was very hung up on, you know, really GoldenEye was the game that introduced me properly to first-person shooters, I would say. And like, you know, I watched, I played like Wolfenstein on my uncle's computer, and I watched, you know, friends play Doom some, but like, I was like, I don't think these games are for me. And like, I love Doom now. Like, Doom is incredible. Like, I've definitely come around on, you know, that era of first person shooters, but at the time,
the boomer shooter, as people call it now.
Yeah.
As the kids call it now.
Which, you know, I think there's also an element of reclaiming ownership of that title for the olds, right?
Yeah.
Oh, was that?
Well,
weird?
I kind of miss first person shooters that are just like not realistic. Like, don't get me
Oh,
wrong,
yeah. Well,
I loved Call of Duty. I played a lot of the Call of Duties and everything, but sometimes it's just fun to play a game that's just silly and not
yeah.
realistic in the slightest. And
Well,
Nightfire, I mean, yeah, like there's like some more serious like I'm sure for the time this was considered a more serious shooter, but like I miss games where you can kind of break the physics of it where it doesn't make any logical sense. Like what is it? Like what I showed you at the beginning, like where you can zoom in with the sniper rifle, switch to a different weapon, and just pop him from like 2 miles away. Like that makes no sense logistically, but but I love that it's still in there. Like I want more things where they allow players to kind of cheese it a little bit if you can figure it out. I love that type of stuff.
I was looking for the powder room.
Is lockpicks and the 9mm?
Hey, it's a
really, like the cutscenes are actually quite good for the time. I would say. I mean, there's a fair amount of expressiveness in the animations and the faces. Like it's actually for early in this era, this is pretty good cutscenes.
interrogation.
I just love the production value of this game in general. It was like like the between the song that they wrote for it, which I don't think is like fantastic, but it's better that the fact that they tried. It's the fact that they tried it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
It sets the tone exactly, and the voice acting and like the animation, everything. I love this game a lot. I don't have enough of a reference to say like how advanced it was for the time. Because growing up playing this, I just played whatever game was in front of me, whether it was Medal of Honor or whether it was this or whatnot. Oh shit! I'm sorry. I just saw that you dropped down off the ceiling. I'm like, oh gosh, please don't die.
I assume that's what I was supposed to do.
I think there's a different way you can get down, but hey, you're still alive, so don't question it. No, I remember the first time I saw like PlayStation 2 like level graphics. My uncle got a PS2 way before like I did, and he had a demo disc for PS2, and I remember playing I think it's like the third mission of Medal of Honor Frontline. It was the one where you're going into like this French town after D-Day, and it was one, yeah, they're going to French town after D-Day, and I just remember being completely stunned by the visuals. I couldn't believe like what I was seeing at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, real quick, there, hardcore in the chat saying Call of Duty realistic. I understand it's not really realistic. It was just more compared to what it was prior. It was a lot more realistic. And then they also mentioned Arma is like super realistic. Isn't Arma like the one that the army made or something like that? Or I misremember.
I know the name, but I'm not familiar with much of the history.
I couldn't remember. Anyway, but no, they're right. Like Call of Duty isn't actually realistic. It's just compared to what it was before. Compared to games like this, and compared to like games with health med kits and stuff like that. Even then, actually, the recharging health's not very realistic.
I get what you mean though, because I mean I lump stuff like Ridge Racer into like real car games, but Ridge Racer is not realistic, and it's not real cars either. But it looks like real cars, right? So even though it's like a very arcadey kind of game with like fake cars.
I would love to see arcadey style games become more popular again. Like in general, like there's definitely like a market for them, but like I think back, like even like arcadey style games in like major franchises. I think back to like Madden 01, where you could get what is it? You could put on big head mode. You can turn on transport, like transporting sidelines. So when you run off the field to the left on the football field, you'll appear on the right, and vice versa. You can turn on like zero gravity mode and stuff like that. You can create your own teams.
I mean,
and make their stats like whacked out. It's awesome.
I mean, that's why I loved why I love like Cruise and Blast on this on the Switch, because it's like, you know, here's a game where you can drive and drift as a Triceratops or a helicopter. It's like that really brought me back into that like N64 era goofiness where like they didn't care if it like looked stupid, if it was fun, like just, you know, just let us do it, right? Oh, do I have a gadget to let me do something with this?
You should. I mean, you could try.
Oh, well, I just
cycle through the
lasered it. It
gadgets.
worked.
There we go. Sorry, I'm probably loud again. I'm too close to the microphone.
Anyway, what I was also going to say. Whoa, I have a rocket launcher. Dang.
I think you need that later on for the end of this mission.
But I was going to say, what was it? We were talking about, oh yeah. Like you're talking about like silly, like sports games. Like when I was, visiting, John Lenneman, we were recording a bunch of N64 stuff. And, like, you know, I am not a sports guy at all. So like, you know, I'm, you know, not really likely to try much of that.
Shoot those hinges a little bit longer with your laser. You have to hold it till it like blows off.
Ah, there we go. Okay. There was no clear indication that it was working. Oh, I see that they light up red now though.
There you go. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we loaded up like Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey, and like that's a game I'd always heard of, mostly just because it was such an early N64 game when there weren't a lot of other N64 games. But you know, it's a hockey game. I'm not interested in hockey. I'm not going to play it. But I was actually really surprised, like, oh, like it actually feels pretty fun. It feels good to play, you know?
The what is it? I used to play a ton of NHL 99 on the N64, and the announcer. Oh, actually, hold on. One quick sub story to that. I played NHL 95 over at my friend's house, and you know, I think that was for the Genesis. I think he had 94 actually. I don't remember which. It was 94 or 95, and since obviously they couldn't do sound effects, you know, there was no samples really. They would have to use the chip to make the sound effect. So every time you hit someone, the sound for someone getting checked and hit, it was like, oh. It almost sounded like a dude, like a gorilla grunting versus a human being. It was really goofy. And then, what is it? In NHL 99, the announcer, the one thing I loved about the NHL games back when they had more character.
That's what you were talking about.
Yeah.
That actually, I mean, Metal Gear Solid 2 does a similar thing. But that actually,
yes. Sorry, I can see what you're talking about now on the stream. Yeah, where you go first person. I loved that. It was so much fun.
The glass wasn't shot out of the.
Oh no!
I thought the glass was shot out of that window. It was not.
Oh geez, that it's finally happening. It's finally showing on my screen.
Oh well, I know better what I'm doing now.
Real quick, we have a super chat. Local S'mores Pop Tart says, I would play Rocket Launcher Quick Draw in The World Is Not Enough on N64 with some buddies anytime we decided to play some N64 multiplayer. Yo, I am with you on that. I actually played World Is Not Enough multiplayer more than GoldenEye. I also have a good memory of what is it? We would do something similar. We would play with all explosives, so rocket launchers and everything. And actually, The World's Not Enough, you could do tracking. Like, you know how like in this game, if you want to do guided rocket launchers, it'll you know, it goes in that first person thing and it shoots.
Right.
They had guided rocket launchers on the N64. It wasn't in first person, but you essentially flick on a little laser on the rocket launcher, and when you shoot, as long as you're holding the R button down to move like the aiming sight reticule thing, wherever you moved it, the rocket would follow that. So you could technically like shoot it around corners if you really wanted to, if you got good with it, which was kind of cool. But no, in NHL 99 and older NHL games, once they had like voice acting and stuff, you could get like, what is it? The arena announcer would always make some or the play-by-play caller would always make great color commentary every time you laid a hit. So like I remember in NHL 99, like if you had a really hard check and you like knocked the wind out of some player, he would say stuff like, "Ooh, welcome to the Roadkill Cafe. Northbound on a southbound freeway. Look out." Stuff like that.
I mean, you know, I really miss those days, you know, like, you know, talking about playing N64 multiplayer. I miss the days where games like these were just played with your local friends on your terms, at your skill level, as opposed to, you know, being played on the world stage. And, you know, there's this like, you know, experience points grind that's associated with it. Like it used to just be, you know, you boot it up and your characters are what they are. Your loadout is what it is, or what you choose for it to be. And it's not all like hyper balanced for, this just going up against this world stage multiplayer. Like you could cheese some things if you wanted, you know, and it was okay. Like you could just play it the way you wanted it to. But now I feel things like, you know, the fact that they have to be balanced for fairness against other human players online, the fact that they have to be balanced for trophies, and you know, it's got to be anti-cheat for trophies and stuff. Like it takes away, I think, a lot of those fun aspects.
About time you showed up.
It's just, I don't know.
I'm with you.
It's missing.
And you can see that transition happen, especially like in this era, right? I remember playing Halo 2 multiplayer a lot, and there was still some jank back then, even though, I mean, it was because it was one of the first fully online console games, right? Like, I mean, it was not the first, obviously. I'm not saying that, you know, you can even go back to Phantasy Star Online.
It was one of the trendsetters, though.
But it was one of the trendsetters, right? And I remember their solution to hosting servers was that whoever, like one person's Xbox at random would be determined the host. So there was no servers being held up by Xbox. Everything was done by hosting. Like there would be one Xbox hosting in the game, and there were some benefits with that though, because you were the host. You had less lag than everyone else because everyone was connecting to you, and you didn't have to connect to everyone else. So there was actually, like, within the community, there was stuff like host shoddy. Like if the host had the shotgun, they had a disproportionate advantage to other players because they didn't have lag and they could just blow you away from close range. So there was stuff like that. Also, like the sword in Halo 2 was super OP because there was no ammo to it. So as soon whoever got it, they could just, you know, charge at people and like just run off. Type, you know, they would charge at people, and plus when you got close enough to them and your sight turned red, it would lunge at the player you were targeting. So you'd be trying to take someone out, and you never could finish them off unless they were already low on health, and it just goes whoop and just launch. Lunge to you. I can't speak. Lunge to you and take you out, and they would continue on their merry way, which was really frustrating. And I even remember my friend. I had a friend. I actually I kind of re-interviewed him on my show for an episode last year, where he did this thing called bridging. Have you ever heard of bridging? try, like
Heard of what?
in like multiplayer games.
Or-
Bridging.
Huh?
Have you ever heard of bridging, like in multiplayer games?
Here, let me pause because the sound of this helicopter was making it so I can't hear you. Say again?
Have you ever heard of bridging in like online multiplayer games?
I don't think so.
Very quick explanation. It is basically where what my friend would do, he would run his Xbox's internet connection through his computer and then have like what he called a lag switch, where essentially would rapidly turn the connection to his Xbox on and off really quickly, so that way it would make the game seem like it's lagging, and because of that it would force the game to make him the host because he had because the game thought he had the weakest internet connection, and he could also make other players lag a whole bunch. So because of that, he actually ran like this small little like side hustle where he would get players to give him free Xbox Live code, so that way he could continue to play online without having to pay, and he would bridge them up in rank. So he would bridge up a player in ranks and get like a 6-month code from them or something like that. If he was playing serious, he wouldn't do that on his main account. He had like an alternate account, excuse me, that he used that for. So he was actually a good player, but he did that literally just to keep his Xbox Live subscription for free.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely like some nostalgia for the early eras of just figuring this stuff out, you know? Figuring out how it's done, and like
that.
now, you know, multiplayer stuff and online stuff, it's so figured out that it's so routine sometimes, the way that it's done. And sometimes it's just not as interesting as it used to be, you know?
Hurry, Zoe. We haven't.
Oh, I know the mission.
Maybe this is what I was thinking about.
Yeah, this is a fun one. It's like a vehicle shooter section.
Yeah, this might be what I was thinking about when I was thinking. I had a vague memory of skiing. I mean, you know, like I was saying, like I had like a very, I would say, narrow idea of like what I wanted out of first-person shooters at the time, and when I played this, I was probably just kind of like, I had a hard time adapting to more modern control schemes for a while there, I would say.
Check behind you. There might be dudes in the barn behind you. Just an FYI.
Yeah, I moved on to a cutscene there.
Oh, okay. There we go. What is it? The thing I was talking about, it ties into, sorry, that episode I did with CJ about the Halo thing. It kind of ties into what we're talking about with like gaming with friends back when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever I don't know how else to describe this. I'm kind of calling it like gaming in a social setting, and I don't mean necessarily just friends coming over and playing games or multiplayer, but I mean like the best example I can give is when I was a kid and I went to church, my parents were active in the youth group there, and they had this thing called a rockathon. And what the rockathon was that you would, it was a charity event where people would take pledges, and they would basically pledge to sit in a rocking chair for so many hours, and if they did that, then the people would pledge the money, and it would go to like a local charity, right? And what they would do is that a lot, especially some of the people who were into video games, they would bring a TV and their system, and they would just play video games, and it was an all-night thing. You would stay
in
up
the rocking
literally
chair.
In the rocking chair. You were allowed to take breaks. I think it's like once every few hours.
I mean, that sounds easy, man. Play video games in a rocking chair. I can do
Are
that.
you kidding me? It was great. We had Halo parties with that later on, but the first time I experienced it was when the PS1 was contemporary, and this guy, I think his name was John, he brought his PS1, and all he had was like Gran Turismo, and I wanted him to play like some other game that my uncle had that I really liked, and I remember being like, all right, well, do you think I was young enough where, you know, I didn't realize it was rude to ask someone to, hey, can you let me play your game system type of thing?
Yeah.
And but I did, and he's like, after I finish this race, and you know, Gran Turismo is meant to be a racing simulator,
Right.
and
It's not
so
something you
there's,
just
like,
jump into.
I mean, well, he was doing like a 200 lap race. And I'm just sitting there watching him drive around in circles. I'm like, someday, some minute, you know, it could be any second, I'll get to play Medal of Honor or Sledstorm, which is a low-key a great racing game.
I mean, but
so
you know,
mad about that.
I don't know if I really experienced so much like video games and that kind of say. I mean, you know, it's
Like
I mean, it's interesting because like I remember some kids like bringing in a Dreamcast to school at some point, like, you know, like in high school. But like, I mean, I remember bringing my Game Boy here a couple times to school or on field trips or something. But you know, I mean, Coury brought up one time about how he like told his kids once, like, you know, when I was growing up, like being into video games was not cool. Like, and it's interesting to think about that. Like, video games are just so normal now. Everyone is into them to in some capacity, right? But but like back when we were growing up, like being like, you know, like most people, like most kids, like probably like, you know, had an NES or a PlayStation or something, but like they weren't like super into it. Like being passionate about it was weird, you know?
Yeah, and even now, I think, don't get me wrong, it's cool to like video games now compared to, like, I'm grateful I'm a little bit younger than you, Try. I didn't experience any like bullying for liking video games. I remember bringing like a Final Fantasy VIII strategy guide into school every day to read it during my lunches because I was obsessed with the game, but no one ever gave me no one ever gave me crap about it. So I never really got bullied for it. So I just missed that. But even so, it was never cool. Like, none of the popular kids played video games or talked about video games or liked video games. It was no longer the thing to be bullied for, type of thing.
Right.
I do think that even so, there is now, while video games are cool, I do still think the people who are passionate about it, the people who, like the wonderful people watching your stream here, or you know, people who do podcasts on it, like myself, you know, our friends, you know, Retro Hangover, and you know, too many to count, too many to name. There is a bunch of people who like that, but I would say most people who play games aren't that same level of passion about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you know,
it's more normal.
What are you passionate about? Yeah. It is definitely more normalized. There's just some people who, you know how like there's people, everyone likes to go to the movies, but not everyone is like a film buff.
Look at the flare off
that's kind of what it feels like more
looks
now.
pretty cool. I rather enjoy that.
Someone commented retro hungover. No, retro hangover. So shout out to them. Try and Coury have been on that podcast a bunch as well. Go check them out. Awesome show.
As well as the king of games that they do every year as well.
King of Games 96 is coming out to the public very soon, in like a week or so.
Oh. Wow,
yes,
we recorded those a long time ago.
Soon. Well, the way they do it, so for those who don't know, King of Games is done by Try and Coury and I, as we're friends with the guys over at the Retro Hangover podcast. They do a bracket style tournament every year called the King of Games. They pick a single year of video games. This one happens to be 1996. And all the games that are in the tournament are decided by the panelists who are, or the other content creators and other people on it who are participating in the event. So what happens is that they pick the 20. I'm not going to say best, but 20 games from the year. We try to determine which game is the king of games from that specific year, and it goes through stuff like, you kind of go through different talking points like historical legacy, which games holds up better now, which personal attachment, which I think they've changed up since, and there's different talking points, and you just kind of assign points to whatever it is, and then at the end of the episode, it doesn't matter which game got which votes and which number of points. The panelists can all vote one direction and decide at the end of the episode, be like, nah, we're gonna move that game on to the next round.
It's really fun.
Yeah, so they do that. It's exclusive to their Patreon, but then after the whole run of whichever year it is done on their Patreon, it goes out onto their free feed. And I believe King of Games 96 is going to be coming out on their free feed very soon. They also did King of Games 92 already, which was last year's one. So that's already out on their free feed if you go back far enough. So yeah, Coury and I have all been a part of it, and it's a good time. It's a really good time.
Yeah, I don't know if it's publicly announced what year they'll be starting to record soon.
I don't think it is yet, but yeah, we're prepping for another one. Oh man, this driving mission that you're on now, I remember being so difficult when I first played it.
Well, but at least it's relatively quick, because I mean the time limit's only like 4 minutes, so if you fail, it's not like it's a super long mission ahead of you.
I remember liking this mission a lot though, just because like you have so many missiles and you could just launch them at will.
Yeah, I seem to have run out of missiles at some point though, or I don't know. They might be switching it.
I think okay, then you can get a machine gun. Yeah. I believe you can pick up more. I forgot. You do have to be sparing. I need to replay this game, man. I played so much multiplayer with this. Like there's that missile launcher that you can see the first person view of. What I would do in multiplayer is I would actually, me and whatever bots we were facing, me and a friend would find like some place on the opposite side of the map, and then
oh man, we're playing Die Another Day now.
Yeah. Yes, we are. Oh my god! Oh my god! Yeah. Now I see you're on the ice.
Yep.
Well, there's no Icarus is not shooting a solar beam reflected from the sun at you, at least. And Bond isn't going to get turned to goo by driving like 600 miles per hour in a rocket car.
Yeah.
That was wild. I didn't realize how many like back-to-back vehicle missions there were in this.
Yeah, they're relatively brief though, but it's neat that they've got them.
Ooh, I think the section, I know I'm a couple seconds behind, but I believe you have like a little mini boss here where you have to like drive around this kind of large lake and take out all the cars or something.
Yeah, it seems like what it's going to do. I wonder if it's going to checkpoint me
Oh,
there.
I hope
Probably
you can
not.
survive though. Your health is almost done.
No,
Oh, there you go.
It didn't checkpoint me.
Oh no. Oh no.
Okay, so you know what? Like it might be better to, because now I see I can switch to the machine gun right away. So it might actually be better to use the missiles quite sparingly.
Yeah, I would agree.
Up until that point, yeah.
I would definitely. I think that's what I ended up doing when I played this the first time.
The frame rate is definitely not very smooth, but aside from that, like the car controls are reasonably enjoyable.
I just like how you're driving through like tiny restaurants and civilians just seem to magically get out of the way at the last second.
I mean, hey, it is Bond, is it not?
It is kind of wild to see. You know, I mentioned before I did that panel on like the history of James Bond and video games. Just seeing how far it's come, even like from this, right?
Oh yeah.
Like I had no idea there was like text adventures based off of James Bond before I did that. Kind of a wild fun fact too. So there's 2 James Bond text adventure games. One is based off Goldfinger. The other is based off of A View to a Kill. Both of them were written and developed by a guy named Raymond Benson. There's a couple cool things about Raymond Benson, and it's like one of the weirdest like things I've ever I shouldn't say weird. It's like one of the coolest connections I've ever seen like in doing research. So he wrote those games. He got to work on those games because he created a book. He wrote a book in the early 80s called the James Bond Bedside Companion, and it was meant to be like a little like fun fact book.
Right.
Excuse me. And it was one of the first ones ever published. It got him a lot of notoriety, and it kind of got him in the door to work on other stuff. He wrote those 2 James Bond games. He would then also go on to be an official James Bond author. You know, after Ian Fleming passed, they have had other people being sanctioned by like Ian Fleming's estate to continue the Bond franchise, like in writing. I think James Gardner, if I remember correctly, I forget his name. I think he was like the first one after Fleming, but Raymond Benson ended up doing the books in the 90s. He wrote a couple original novels, and then he also did the novelizations of Tomorrow Never Dies, The World's Not Enough, and I want to say also Die Another Day.
Wow.
Crazy thing about Raymond Benson. Not only did he write the games and then become an official James Bond author, that James Bond tabletop RPG I told you about, he wrote an expansion for that. He wrote like a little expansion for it, and he was the lead writer of Ultima 7.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, the Black Gate, I think, is the subtitle to that. He was the lead writer of Ultima 7. He also worked on a handful of other games into the mid 90s, and the only reason he got out of the games industry, was because he got the offer to be an official James Bond author.
Wow. That's kind of crazy.
I just think it's wild that there's a connection between James Bond and Ultima. Like
Yes.
a direct connection.
Yeah.
It's really surreal. And also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I already forgot what I was going to say, actually. So go on.
There is it was funny, going through everything. I was trying to get some, when I was doing the presentation, I go chronologically. Like I said before, the oldest game is from 82. There's a bunch of text adventures. There's like some weird ones that like you've never heard of. Like even if you go onto like the James Bond 007 Wikipedia page, like they aren't there. There's 007 Car Chase, which came out for the Commodore 64. There was one that I was kind of shocked to see. It was the James Bond 007 action pack. It was a ZX Spectrum action pack, or a bundle, that came out in 1990. It was published by Amstrad. And I have some of my notes up from the presentation here. It was a compilation of games. There was it was a port of the Living Daylights game, which they renamed Mission Zero. And there's the 2 other games are essentially just light gun games. There's Lord Bromley's Estate and Q's Armory. Lord Bromley's Estate is just like a clay pigeon shooting type of mini game. Or maybe it's not a light gun, but it's actually no, sorry, it is a light gun. The system, the bundle came with it, and you would actually like shoot the pigeons on the screen, to shoot the clay pigeons on the screen. And Q's army was essentially the same thing, but it just wasn't clay pigeons. It was like robots or something like that. And then there was also an unlicensed
Why the
game
heck do
in
I have a golden
1991.
gun?
Wait, do you?
I do. I mean, it's not the Scaramanga golden gun, but it's a golden
not the
PPK.
golden gun. Yeah.
I don't know why. Like, did I do like super good in the last mission or something?
I'm not going anywhere till you check the hallway.
Oh, I remember this mission. You get to sneak around and everything. I know it's another like kind of low-key really good game from this era that you can also get on the Xbox. Operation. Oh shoot, hold on. I have it right here. Give me 2 seconds. It's Operation something. I'm blanking on the last name. Oh, not Operation. Sorry, Project Snowblind. It's an FPS, so I don't know if you ever want to do 2 FPSs back to back. But Project Snowblind is a really solid first-person shooter for the original Xbox and PS2, and I think it's on GameCube as well. But it's really good.
The name is vaguely familiar. I've never found shotguns to be a super satisfying
I'm
weapon
with you on
in
that.
Bond games. Like shotguns and like other shooters, I'm all about it. But in Bond games, for some reason, it's just never quite.
I've never been a fan of shotguns in most FPS games. I don't know why. Other people love them. I just, for some reason,
I mean,
I'll stick with the pistol.
I mean, in Doom, shotguns are amazing. But yeah, like, I mean, Doom, they're good in Half-Life, I'd say.
Hmm.
But yeah, what do you know about? I've never tried it. I saw it at a convention and it wasn't very expensive, but I didn't get it. There's that Sega Genesis game that's got Timothy Dalton on the cover. It's like the Duel.
Yeah. Yeah,
Have you ever tried that? Like,
yes, I have. It's got a pretty good soundtrack too.
Yeah?
It's not bad. It's not anything. I wouldn't claim to be an expert as to how it stands up to other games, to its contemporaries at the time, but it's not bad. I just don't think it really stands out. It's fine.
Like, what
it's
kind
like
of game
it's
even?
not a bad game. It's just fine.
What kind of game even is it, really?
It is side-scrolling shooter with like where you play. Obviously, you play as Bond and as Dalton's Bond, and you have to go around. It's like an exploratory side-scrolling shooter where you kind of are climbing up different levels of, like, literally levels. I'm not talking about levels of a game. I mean like floor levels type of thing. And you're climbing up, and you have to kind of jump up and around and explore around. And I think you have to like rescue 5 people generally in each level to progress on. So it's kind of got that Sega. It's that era of Sega games where like it gives you like this open level to explore, but it's not like huge. It's like a small medium-ish level that you kind of run up and down and around, and you have to find everything.
This open area kind of makes me think of the Asian level in Time Splitters a bit. There's
The
kind
level
of
you're at,
similar
right? Your
sort
level
of
you're playing
open
right now?
area, or at least my memory is of it being kind of a similar sort of area.
I've been meaning to play Time Splitters. I think I have Time Splitters 2.
That I
but
mean,
the only
that's
reason I haven't played it.
That's kind of like that's probably the best one, but you know, as like a big Halo fan, you may be more into Time Splitters Future Perfect, which is the third game. That one is much more. That one, see, like Time Splitters 1 is a very weird game. It moves very, very fast. Not, you know, it's very much like the campaign very much exists for the multiplayer, and there's like no real story trimmings or anything like that to it. But Time Splitters 2 is like really is like GoldenEye, but with like a with a more modern dual analog control scheme. Time Splitters 2, like if you really like want to delve into that style of gameplay where you like have to like keep the objectives kind of in mind as you are moving through the levels.
I don't mind that. I'm a fan of those kinds of older FPSs that do that.
They don't make games like that anymore. Oopsie. Oh, really? Ah. Wow, one civilian dead and that's it.
That's all you get.
Oh, I see that there's a $5 super chat from EB Chill. Thank you, as always. Saying, hey, everyone, what's your Xbox setup? Is this your HDMI Xbox with Retrode? Just curious. I'm playing Half-Life 2 on Xbox with Retrode 4K. So I am using the Retrode 4K, but that's not what you're seeing. I'm just using it so that I can see it clearly on my TV. What you got, this is the HDMI Xbox, though. And so what you're seeing is just that 480p output, just upscaled through OBS. So I couldn't get it to, I experimented with the upscaling a bit in OBS, and I tried to see if I could get it to look as good as the Retrode 4K, and I couldn't quite. So it is a little blurrier looking compared to what I'm seeing on my TV. I think it looks quite good, what I'm looking at here. But I thought it looked decent enough for the stream. The reason is the way that I've got the Retrode hooked up right now, I can't easily get audio to the stream if what I capture is the Retrode. So that's the only reason why it's like that right now. But hopefully it's good enough for that. But yeah, I had a little trouble capturing audio from the Xbox HDMI, but there are a few HDMI mods where the audio can be kind of funky in certain scenarios, and I've got the Xbox as well as several other systems like the GBA Consolizer and the PS1 Digital, all of which sometimes had weird audio quirks. How did she die? Anyway, yeah, I'm running them through an audio extractor, an HDMI audio extractor, which I don't actually use to extract the audio like to analog or anything like that. But what I do with it is just pass through. And something about it doesn't add any lag, but something about just passing through the through that HDMI audio extractor just like changes something about the audio in some way that like normalizes it to where it's like then it's fine to capture.
Real quick try. I think for that spot that the lady keeps getting killed at, you have flashbangs, right?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Maybe try chucking one of those in there to like stun all the enemies beforehand, and that'll give you enough time. Because it seems like you're not even more focused like, even if you accidentally shoot her.
I do think they were focused on me. I may have accidentally shot her last time, just because like the guy died, and then maybe my reticle went over to him. I'm not. Or
it's definitely possible. I do think if you the flashbang might help though, because then. Like they're all going to kind of stay relatively still, including her. Like she'll get stunned as well, but like she won't get killed. So right. I'd say that's a win.
Yeah, let's try this.
I also love how like old FPSs just like have the UI with it. You know, like just thinking about this dude running around with how that flashbang looks is just so silly.
Yeah.
There you go.
You.
There you go. That's how you. All right. Did you get past it? I can't tell just yet. Hey, there you go. Cool. I'm up. I'm caught up.
Okay, so there's 2 hostages. Looks like
That is okay. So I'm up to the point where Bond just decides to kiss the lady. I'm like, you know, there's a bunch of guards outside, and you're murdering people.
not the right time.
Maybe now's not the best time. You know, priorities here, Bond. Priorities.
Can I like break through here? There's like clearly a ladder there.
What's the action button?
Oh wait, what? What
Like, you know how like there might be a
what
button
is
to
shaver?
hit.
What is? Whoa! Oh. Okay. Could that have been it? Nope. Okay, that's kind of funny though.
Oh, the shaver is a flashbang. Is there a button just to like open doors?
The A button. Oh, that actually worked. That's funny. Wow,
There you go.
look at how this texture here like almost looks like a warped PS1 texture.
For the water?
No, for like the wood that's like right
Oh, the wood. Okay.
on the side of the gates. Like it looks weirdly tiled and warped for some reason. Same over on this side. Like it's like they skewed it weirdly to like fit around that hole, I guess. I don't know, it's sort of strange.
Real quick, for the love of the game, the duel game is like a Rolling Thunder clone. I think it's pretty accurate.
Oh, yeah.
Comparison I forgot about.
I could see
Yeah.
that. Oh, come on.
Definitely.
I tried to go the sneaky way and that guy sees me. Like, sees me before I even get out of the water.
Apparently, it's just not. It's just this game doesn't like stealth. It doesn't let you stealth. You know, actually, if you ever do get a chance to, what is it? If you ever do get a chance to try The World's Not Enough for the N64, because believe it or not,
I beat it
is
back in the day. I have it.
Oh, okay.
It's been a long,
I was going to say,
it's
it
been
is
a
different from the
long time.
PS1 version. There's a stealth mission in that game that's like really interesting. It's very difficult, extremely difficult, but it's still pretty fun for the time, though. Because you can't take out any of the guards, like you can't kill any of them, which I understand. Like they're innocent people, but like they can shoot at you and stuff. So what you have to do, like you can get like stun darts, which will knock them out, or what you can do is if you use, because your watch has a bunch of different modes, like your watch can be a laser, it can be
That
a stunner,
actually
it can
worked.
be
I think I just
grapple
flashbanged
hook.
myself. Whoops. Oh, wait, that actually worked.
There we go.
Got screwed up,
What
but
it-
it worked.
I like hearing your reactions, and then like 4 seconds later, I'm like, oh, I see what he's talking about. No, there was but in that it's like you have to escape from Elektra's villa, and if you want to take out the guards, and it doesn't count as a lethal takeout, but they're gone from the level forever, you can stun them. And if you get up close enough to them, while Bond has his wristwatch out, like he's putting it out, like he's like extending his arm like it was post punch or something like that, and he's zapping them with the watch in one arm, and then his left arm is just wailing on them, like just punching them right in the face, and it keeps them stunned so they can't alert anyone, and then the punch will knock them out, and they're good for the rest of the mission. But you can't do that to everybody, because if you do that, there's like 2 enemies you can't do that to: Gabor and Davidov, who are like the henchmen of Elektra. And sometimes it's hard to tell the difference because it's dark. So like I tried beating that mission like 4 times when I played it the other week, and I kept failing because I kept accidentally knocking out Gabor. So frustrating. I'm not gonna lie, I really love the lighting in this level.
Yeah,
It looks really cool.
It's actually pretty good. Like I'm curious how the different versions compare. I just got all of that era of Bond games when I picked them up, a lot of them up last year. I just got the Xbox versions because typically for multi-platform games, it's a safe bet that's probably the best one. So I wonder if like if like the lighting and shadows, like they've got some decent sort of baked lighting and shadow textures. I like this reflection effect here. Like obviously the reflection is a lot simplified, but it's effective.
I'm always impressed when I can see like some PS2 and Xbox era games that like have surprisingly impressive visuals for the time. And the fact that like you said, this is an early title. Now, actually, no, I'm curious. When did this game get ported over to the Xbox?
Did they not come out at the same time?
They might have, but sometimes these games had like different release dates or timed exclusives and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like this came out on all systems at the same time, though.
I would assume so. That would make the most sense.
Because it was 2002 and all the systems were already out. I saw Mr. Do say, as we like to call Mr. Dots, we like to call him Mr. Do. I saw him say, surprised I don't own Mission Impossible for N64. I mean, that game was not considered very good back in the day. And, oh crap. That was not considered very good back in the day, and a friend rented it, and it was... I don't remember much about it, but I don't remember it being very good. But it was definitely like a fairly hyped game at the time, especially because like spy and stealth stuff was very popular in games at the time. You know, thanks to stuff like, you know, GoldenEye and Metal Gear Solid. You know, anything to do with being stealthy in games was like super cool.
Well, that and then, you know, the movie came out just like right around that time, the Tom Cruise one.
Yeah. Well, I think it might have been a few years old at that point, but
you know what? When did it come out for the N64? I don't know. Because you know the movie. I want to say
would be my guess.
Hold on, let me see. Mission Impossible. It came out in '96. The movie. The game came out in '98. So that's about the same turnaround time that you would expect, though. You know, because like GoldenEye was interesting because the movie came out in '95, but the N64 game didn't come out until a few years later. That and GoldenEye was super weird with how it like grew with popularity because it was like a slow burn.
Yeah.
Like when it came out in '97, it took a little bit of time to build up. I remember doing research on it. I don't know if I have it written down here. Yeah. In holiday 1999, that GoldenEye had more sales in the holiday of 1999 alone than it did in both the holidays of 97 and 98 combined. Man, these guys take a lot of hits.
Yeah, with the Magnum, it tends to be about 3 hits. And they're all like very like, you can definitely tell that the Matrix was super popular at the time with the trench coats they wear.
2002, baby.
Yeah, the Matrix was everything.
I remember, you ever have those movies that you just remember seeing advertisements for like 5 years after they came out? Still, like it was still like this pinnacle of popularity or something like that.
Well,
I remember
like on TV, like, well, they would advertise like, you know, it's going to be running on TV or whatever.
TV, also just like, TV, because I always remember seeing stuff for like, specifically when Die Another Day came out, I remember seeing that stupid advertisement for like the beard trimmer that he used, like whatever razor blade that he used in that movie, over and over and over again. I saw it so many times. And I'll be honest, as a young man starting to like get facial hair, I'm like, it made me want to get one of those. I never did, but it made me want to get one of those. Product placement worked. It worked.
Well, sometimes it gets you.
Though seeing Dr. No never made me want to drink what's the beer in that movie? It's red something. Son of a nugget. I don't remember what it is. It's like it's like a Jamaican beer too, I want to say. Maybe not Jamaican. I don't remember. Hold on.
Is Fu Yuck from The Man with the Golden Gun actually a real product?
It's not Red Stripe. It's son of a you know what? I could probably. I have the movie on my computer. I could open it up real quick. I might actually do that because it's gonna bug me now. Let me see here. Where are you? Actually, and with still bonding, I'm in the process. When you messaged me about this for this, I was actually editing the Casino Royale episode.
Oh, nice.
I'm very excited for that one. There's also Casino Royale, and then all that's left is the rest of the Daniel Craig era, where Quantum of Solace, Skyfall, Spectre, and No Time to Die.
End of an era.
Yes, sir. I'm excited for whoever the next Bond is. I'm also excited to see. Oh no, it is Red Stripe. I'm sorry, everyone. It is Red Stripe beer. You're right. Just got to the scene. It is Red Stripe. I completely misremembered. But no, I'm excited for. Oh my gosh, who's the team that does the Hitman games? IO Interactive.
Yeah. I forget their name too, but
IO Interactive. They're doing the new Bond game, Project 007. It's been in the works for a while. It seems like maybe there's some issues going on with it, but
they actually let me destroy the CRT. I feel so bad. Yeah, I mean that. I feel like that is kind of like the thing that stands the best chance at being like the next like really big hit, like Bond game, because they just seem like the perfect developer to take that on. Because I've not played the Hitman games myself, but I have heard people describe them to me as being a bit like GoldenEye and similar games where, kind of what I like about GoldenEye is I see it as kind of being this like almost kind of like clockwork level where like you're kind of just like dropped into this situation and, people around you kind of just do what they're programmed to do in their own timing. Mm-hmm. And then you are kind of this agent of chaos that then messes up with just how the level and the things in it operate. And then the characters react to what you do. And then, so yeah, seeing that I've heard those games compared to, we got ninjas now. Seeing as I've heard those games compared to GoldenEye and Time Splitters and stuff like that. Anyway, it definitely makes a lot of sense.
I have played the. I've not played the original Hitman games. I have played the I played the 2016 kind of like reboot-ish of it where they kind of changed it around. I loved it. I loved that one. I actually have the second one somewhere back behind me. Have yet to actually give it a try, but I really enjoyed that one. And so when I played that one makes you feel like James Bond because you have to it gives you this playground and it gives you the objective, to assassinate someone. But they have really interesting like there's so many unique and goofy ways that you can achieve the objective. It is. I don't know. It was really cool, and it feels like that game gives you a little bit of leeway in terms of being able to kind of, like we were talking before about how there's old school like video game jank where like you can kind of cheat the game unintentionally, and games are a little goofy with their physics. I feel like because because that Hitman game is like a sandbox, you can kind of do that in this. Like you can get away with things kind of accidentally.
I was pinned down. Alex. I promise you.
Oh man, someone just died. I didn't even know. I just see it now.
I mean, the guy I was supposed to be rescuing, I suppose. You know, I'm trying to think. You know, like there's this mission here in Japan. Like, how has Bond been to Japan since, in the movies at least, since You Only Live Twice?
Not for Your Eyes Only. I'm sorry. You Only Live Twice. No, I don't think he has.
That's kind of weird.
Connery famously had an awful time in Japan. There was a story where he was just trying to use the bathroom, like at a public restroom or something like that, and paparazzi literally like stood up over the stanchion or the divider and was taking pictures. And like, I don't know, that could be hearsay, but I heard it was something wild like that. He was hounded. Like the Japanese paparazzi and press were like all over him back then. He hated making that movie.
I get the impression that Connery in general had a strong dislike of the attention that the role gave him.
Yes and no. I mean, he had a big beef with the Bond producers because, and kind of justified, like from, Connery, he's known to be a little bit of a curmudgeon. He's also said some problematic things, which I won't go into. But he has every right to be mad because as the movies gained in popularity, he wasn't getting paid more. Like the movies kept doing better and better and better, and he was making the same amount of money in You Only Live Twice that he was in Dr. No. Even by that point, the series had worldwide success, some of the most successful movies of all time, early, especially for that time. And so he was understandably kind of mad about that, and so he put up a big stink, and apparently he wasn't always very nice to the producers. Apparently he was nothing but a professional on set, but with the producers there was a very cantankerous and not great relationship. Like you can see an interview with Connery. I don't know if it's on some talk show, and the talk show host asks him, like, who's the best Bond villain? And he goes, Cubby Broccoli, which was the producer of the movies. Yeah, he was not happy with them. He was very snarky with them and about them during it. Yeah, it's wild. And I get it, too. Like, I'm not saying, like, he was necessarily always great to them. Apparently, he was always, like, really, arguing about money. But if you're making the same amount of money 5 movies later and the movies keep making more and more and more, like exponentially more, excuse me, he's got a leg to stand on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, I don't know much about how like contract negotiations work today, but certainly don't know how they worked back then.
Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine, dude. It's wild to me that even like some of the stuff they got away with in terms of those old movies. I think I don't know if I told you on the Live and Let Die episode, just thinking about like stunt work, right? Back in the day. We talked about this in the Live and Let Die episode. There's a bus chase scene in Live and Let Die where I don't know if you remember us talking about it on the episode, but there's a bus chase scene where they're trying to get away from the bad guys on San Monique, I think is the island that the movie takes place on. I think it's a fictional island. It's been a minute, but they're driving the bus and they're like, swerving around sharp turns, and like there's a section where the bus hits a bridge and the top half of the bus rips off. apparently Jane Seymour was actually in that bus. Like the lead actress of the movie was in the bus the whole time. Like, why would you do that?
Well, I mean, and like, and and the man with the golden gun with the crazy, car flip stunt, like that, like had
Yes.
never been done before, right? Like,
Do you know how they did that?
like that was like the shot that they got on film, like it was a world. I mean, I think that happened actually a few times, like where like things they did in the movies, like if I'm not mistaken, the like the bungee jump. I mean, I'm sure it was, certainly by then I'm sure they would have done it quite safely, but like the bungee jump at the beginning of GoldenEye, I believe was, and maybe still is, I don't know, like a world record. Like
The Bond movies do stuff like that with stunts where, like, what is it in Casino Royale when Bond thinks Vesper is kidnapped and he's driving to chase after her. He's driving like super fast down the road, and all of a sudden Vesper is tied up on the ground in the road, so he has to swerve out of the way.
Right.
And they broke a world record for how many car flips on film were made. Like it was like 8 or it was like 10 or something. I don't remember how much. I don't remember the number. But if you watch that back, that I don't know if it still is standing, but at the time it was filmed, it was the world record for the most flips a car.
Well, it probably is still
had ever done on
standing because
film.
they would never do that with a real car now.
No. I mean, some movies still do that. Like, I can't say for certain now, but like the Fast and Furious movies, man, you'd be surprised how much stuff they do practically, even as recently as like 2015,
Really?
which I know now is like almost 10 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I'm under the impression that like the car that is the main car that's being followed is like almost always fake. In most movies.
Yeah. Well,
But
so
I don't know for sure though, really.
if you'll allow me, I have a couple nerdy rants to go into some of the stunts in so like the car flip you mentioned in The Man with the Golden Gun, where it does the corkscrew, right? The way that they did that was it was one of the first stunts ever to be designed by a computer. A computer did all the calculations, so that way they knew how to build the ramp at the proper twists, so that way it would land on the other side. And that's why it looks so perfect, is because it was designed by a computer. So like it was easier to, I guess it took a lot of the human error out of it, right? The stunt driver for that, they needed the car to be the weight needed to be perfectly distributed throughout the entirety of the car, right? So the stunt driver, they took out all the seats, and the stunt driver had to lay down on their stomach, spread eagle, and then arms kind of stretched out to the side as well. And then they had the pedals for the brake and the gas. Like they completely modified the car to move those pedals back to the guy's feet where he's laying down and spread eagle, right? And he could still steer it with his hands in the center of the car because the weight was still balanced, and he had to do a car flip like that. That's how the stunt driver drove it, because there was no CG back then in the early 70s, and this is the first time they'd ever attempted something like this on film. They had no idea what could go wrong. So what you don't see is over the river, there is tons of divers in the water already, because they couldn't wait. Because if it doesn't make it, say the guy flips over and crashes and falls straight down, he's strapped into this thing.
Yeah.
He is hardest into this thing within an inch of his life, because they want to make sure it's a seatbelt or whatever. So if that thing goes in the water, how's he going to get out in time? So they had divers at the ready underwater, so that way they could then go in and save him. But they never needed it. And supposedly this could be not true. It could just be apocryphal, I guess is the right word, where after the stunt was done, they asked him, like, it looked too perfect on film, and they asked him to do it again. The stunt driver's like, no, nope. You got your take. I'm not doing that a second time.
Yeah. Well, and then they slowed it down and added the silly sound effects, which I heard,
they ruined
they
the
later
whole stunt.
regretted.
They did the slide whistle for that stunt. They completely ruined. They took away all the gravitas of the stunt just for a silly like whistle side effect type of thing. Super bummer. Last, not James Bond related, but I was mentioning before about how some movies still use like practical stuff. Fast 7, the one with right before Paul Walker passed away, or he passed away in the middle of production. There's a scene in that movie where they're trying to get some technology called God's Eye. I'll spare all the story stuff. Trying to get some technology called God's Eye, and the bad guy who has it is in a caravan of cars on the side on like a mountaintop road, right? So there's no way for them to get to them without being noticed by the bad guys, because they have to either drive up the mountain from either side. So like, well, if we can't go from the front or the back, why don't we try? Why don't we just go from the top? And everyone's like, what do you mean? They parachute car. In the movie, the drivers are in an airplane and they drive out of the airplane and they pop a parachute, so the whole car goes and lands on the highway, and they continue to chase after these guys. That was done practically. Wow. They actually, there was no actors in it, but they dropped like hundreds of cars from this airplane with GPS guided parachutes to land on the highway. It's wild.
Wow.
And most of the cars actually hit their drop zones, which is crazy. Actually, Henry Studio wrote the XXX, the Vin Diesel movie that's not a porno, had a stuntman die, and the footage of the stunt of the fatality is in the final movie. That's crazy.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
also,
good. Man, there was this one shot. Friend and I were watching. Oh, what was it called? This super weird Japanese horror movie. Where like basically ghosts take over the world over the course of the movie. It's really weird. Oh, 7886, I think it was. And there was this one shot that was like, I mean, it was all clearly real. Or I mean, not CG, but like you see this like this girl like on top of like a water tower, and she like you see this extended shot where she's just like in the background, like you can tell like what she's going to do, but like the focus isn't, the focus is on the characters in the front, and then she's just like, it's a wide shot, so you see her at the top of the tower, and then you see her just splat on the ground, and like that was like one of the fewest times I've like seen something like that in a movie, where it's like I cannot like I read about how they did it after the fact, but like in my head I'm like I literally cannot think how they did that without killing someone, because it looked that convincing. That's
crazy. I'm sure that, I mean, obviously they had to figure it out some way, but
yeah.
And actually, real quick, Henry Studio corrected me. The fatality was not in the final cut of the XXX film. Yeah, they cut it off. And also, they asked earlier, how do you like your James Bond? That's a code name passed down to different guys, or it's been the same guy this whole time with just different actors? I have my answer, but do you have an answer for this, Try?
I mean, my answer is that there is no real continuity except when they want there to be.
Yeah.
I kind of take each story as a self-contained adventure, and there's only really continuity when they want it to be. Like clearly, like when Timothy Dalton, when Felix is talking to his wife and talking about like, oh, he was married once. Like, I don't take that as meaning literally Timothy Dalton's Bond lived through the exact events in the 60s or whatever year that On Her Majesty's Secret Service was shot. I don't take that as being quite that literal.
You see, I actually do. I consider everything up until the Daniel Craig era. It's supposed to be this floating timeline that you don't really care too much about of like the logistics.
Right, because obviously the actor is too young to have done those things in the 60s.
Yes.
So you're saying that Bond does all those things, but each Bond, think of it like the 007 Legends. Oh gosh, well, I think it was 7886. Like the 007 Legends game had this thing where Daniel Craig's Bond is experiencing these things that happen to the other Bonds. And
yes,
but in an updated way. Like, they do reuse like the likeness of like Goldfinger and some of the ladies, but for the most, but the actual locations are updated. So it's like those are things that Daniel Craig's Bond did do, but you're not supposed to envision that they're exactly as they were in the original movies.
Yeah.
They take place in an era of cell phones and stuff like that.
The way I always kind of equated it is that you don't really pay too much attention to the you don't pay too much attention to the technology. The idea of it to me more was that Bond is like everything that happens to Bond in all the movies is happening to the same person, just kind of like not 50 years apart from each other. Imagine like he completes Dr. No, and then maybe a month later he does everything that happens from Russia with Love occurs in his world, right? Obviously that was like a full year later for us when the movies came out, but maybe in the James Bond timeline or whatever, it was like only a month later or something like that. So I always kind of imagined it was like condensed into a shorter time period, and obviously they just show the adventures as it happens, as the James Bonds come and go, the actors come and go, and they just kind of like you kind of have that suspension of disbelief of the timeline. Right. I kind of preferred that. I love the Daniel Craig films, in all honesty. I think Craig is one of the better. He's not the best Bond, but I think he's my favorite personally. I do think he's my favorite Bond, but the thing that bothers me about his movies is that they're way too serious. Like, they're so serious, and I think that's what we needed at the time.
Yeah,
because like when Casino Royale came out, Bond Die Another Day is one of the silliest movies in the entire franchise. It's up there with Moonraker. It's up there with what's another super A View to a Kill. Like, some of the Die Another Day is crazy silly. So they brought it back to a little bit more. It's not realistic, but they grounded it a little bit more with Casino Royale. And ever since then, though, they've been nothing but serious. And then they tried to do the whole, like, what is it? I don't want to spoil it for those who haven't seen Spectre and No Time to Die, but they try to find a way to connect all the movies as this weird overarching plot, and I kind of hate that. I think it's really bad, and I
don't hate it, but I hate parts of the execution. I don't mind the idea though.
Well, like, I don't know. I won't spoil anything. I won't spoil anything for anyone who hasn't watched the movies, but I don't think it. I agree with you on the execution. I don't hate the idea of it per se, but I think the way they executed it was just awful. Like, just in terms of plot points, it's awful. There's lots of things I like about those movies. I like the action set pieces. I like the cinematography. I like the different locations that they go to. A lot of the stuff that I like the older Bond movies for, that you don't pay as much of attention to the plot with, type of thing. But with Craig, they kind of force you to pay a little bit more attention to the plot because he's such a serious character. So you're expecting a more serious narrative. And like it doesn't always work. Like, I think the best Daniel Craig ones are Casino Royale and Skyfall. I like No Time to Die a lot. I think it's a lot better than people give it. Like, No Time to Die is extremely polarizing. Have you seen it yet, Try?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you know why it's
I need to see it again to kind of digest my feelings on it. But I overall liked it. But I agree. I mean, Casino Royale and Skyfall, like, beyond
the best ones.
Beyond
I also think Quantum isn't as bad as people say it is. I think Quantum's a lot better than people say it is. The thing with Bond movies is that they're really reactionary to whatever is popular at the time, which they have to be in order to evolve. But sometimes they're a little too close to their inspiration. Like a good example of this is Spectre is very much a reaction to Captain America: Winter Soldier. The plot is really similar. A lot of like the plot twists are similar to what they do in Captain America: Winter Soldier. Skyfall, which is great, is kind of a reaction to The Dark Knight in terms of how Silva's plan goes into motion and everything. Casino Royale is kind of a reaction to the Bourne movies. I do think Skyfall and Casino do a good job with it. They separate themselves far enough from their inspiration where it doesn't feel too like cheap or like meh. But then you go back further and, you know, like Moonraker was such a reaction to Star Wars, it's not even funny. So much so that if you look at the end credits of The Spy Who Loved Me, it says James Bond will return in For Your Eyes Only. And then the next movie isn't For Your Eyes Only, it's Moonraker, because they wanted to capitalize on the whole we're going to space craze type of thing.
Yep.
Man, I love Skyfall, though. Skyfall's, I can't wait to get to that movie, you know, on Still Bonding.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be a long episode.
Yeah, Skyfall is super good. There's only one. There's only one. Oh crap! Where was the dude? Someone saw me, but I don't know where he was.
Is he shooting?
No, I mean these are security guards. Well, I got shot by the turret anyway. There's like one little tiny complaint I have about Skyfall, but it's like kind of just me. So, but I won't say what it is because it's, you know.
Is it spoiler territory?
Oh, it's spoilers.
Oh, okay. Well, after the stream, you'll have to tell me. I'm very curious.
Yeah, I mean, it's not what happens, but how it happens. Mm-hmm. You probably can guess what generally I'm talking about.
There's a whole lot of things I could guess with it, but I won't speculate.
Hit the alarm.
Yeah. What is it? Mr. Dots writes, I've only seen 3 Bond movies. Not sure why. I enjoyed but you enjoyed the ones that you watched. They are. I always tell people, if you're the Bond movies, as you go through them, you kind of watch them for different reasons. Like the older Bond movies, not most of them don't have phenomenal plots. You know, they're fine. Some of them are better than fine. Some of them are good, but like just basic. I watch the older Bond movies more for like the settings, you know, the locations that they go to.
Right.
The gadgets are like, I'm able to transport myself back into like the 60s or 70s and kind of look at it through those eyes a little bit.
Right. And at the time, that was a big, because, you know, they were taking people through a movie to places that they would probably never be able to go to or afford to go to.
Yeah.
And you know, so the exotic locations were, you know, a big a big part of what made those movies such big successes. And I think it's fun to look at them as a world tour kind of event.
Well, with that in mind, you're 100% right, Try. Because if you think about it, with that in mind, they're taking audiences to places that, at the time, especially in like the 60s, like commercial air travel was like not huge. So it's not like you could just hop on a plane and go to like Australia or Jamaica like with ease. You'd have to plan out the trip a little bit more thoroughly than that. So if you notice in Dr. No, the first, 1962, right? There is like a 5 to 6 minute portion of the movie of just James Bond walking through an airport. That's all it is. He's just walking through an airport
It's
because
like, look at him walking through this airport. Ain't that crazy?
I'm like, the only thing I can imagine is that people in 62 were like, I've never seen an airport. What? It's the only thing. It's just wild.
8526. They change it every attempt. 8526.
Someone's shooting you from behind, I think.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't get through the guy. It's these turrets on the ceiling.
Oh, okay.
The guys are security guards. They don't shoot me, and I can't kill them. It's
Obsidian
really
Carnage writes,
confusing
Tomorrow
level.
Never Dies is an underrated film. It's a classic Bond with a modern plot. I kind of agree with that. I like that description.
I've always thought Tomorrow Never Dies is better than people act like it is.
It's one of the most bizarrely like prescient movies in terms of like how media can manipulate things. And I'm not going to go into a crazy serious topic, but like, that is something that we worry about now. But at the same time, it's also super outdated because what is like Carver trying to do to manipulate it? He is trying to set a media empire of newspapers, magazines, radio, and television, all of which were killed by the internet like a couple years later.
Yeah.
Now, he would have pivoted probably to...
Oh, sure. The 007 version, 007 Legends versions of Tomorrow Never Dies would definitely be very different.
And my apologies, Henry Studio. I did not see that you were the first to shout out Tomorrow Never Dies. Also, Michelle Yeoh's in Tomorrow Never Dies. Fun. Like, she's got a really great... They let her stunt team do, like, when you see kind of her home base and Bond goes in there and to get geared up before they go after the stealth boat, they let her and her team in there to choreograph that fight scene prior to Bond showing up to like the base in her like her own jurisdiction. Really cool fight scene.
I think that's the first time I saw her in a movie as well.
I think same for me.
Real quick, I was just checking the other tab. Apologies for not catching it sooner. There was a £10 super chat from Plume. Thank you so much. Just saying thanks for the great stream, guys. Well, thank you.
If David Brush just wrote in
7130.
If you could see Daniel Craig as in a Bond in an older Bond movie, if you could see Daniel Craig as Bond in an older Bond movie, which would it be? Know what I would love to see him in? From Russia with Love. I think low key From Russia with Love is the best Sean Connery movie. I know everyone likes to go to Goldfinger and because that set up the whole formula and everything, but I think I'd go with From Russia with Love. I think From Russia with Love has a really good plot. It's got surprisingly good pacing for a movie from 1963. Also, the fight scene with Bond and Red Grant is incredibly gritty, considering it was one of the first of its kind.
That's very Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
And in fact, they kind of,
God,
I think they
amazing.
tried to directly allude to it really in
Spectre with the Dave Bautista fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say From Russia with Love definitely has always seemed like a pretty popular one from like the Bond hardcore, but I've always struggled with it a bit because it was one of the later ones that I saw of the, you know, of the older movies when I was like first getting into them, you know, like me and a friend back, you know, back in our teenage years, like he over the years, he collected all of the Bond movies on VHS, and you know, just whatever ones he got would be the ones that we would watch, and we just put a Bond movie on in the background all the time, you know. That you know, that's just kind of how I got to be a fan. But From Russia with Love was one of the later ones that he got. In fact, I actually think I might have watched that at my cousin's house before he ever got a copy. So it was later I saw it. And it was, you know, it was definitely, it was a little weird going back to it. And there's certain little things in it that are weird. Like the movie kind of just ends.
Yeah, a little bit.
But
a lot of the older Bond movies
there's
do
a
that.
few things that I don't love about it. Let's see, 6174, 6174, 6174, 6174.
I can write that on a notepad on my computer if you'd like.
No, I think I'm right. Oh crap! There's the guns from both sides. 6174.
Well, I have it written down in case you need it.
It's right here. 6174. All right. Okay. Just gotta be careful.
There you go. Someone Cloud FF7 2000 wrote like which Daniel Craig you'd like to see, which older Bond movie you'd like to see Daniel Craig in. They wrote A View to a Kill just to see him opposite Christopher Walken. Absolutely. Absolutely. Are you kidding me?
Oh,
that'd be amazing.
Man. This part's so hard. I would have had it
Also,
if I had found I'd found it on some other runs. It's very confusing layout to this level. Yeah, that would definitely be great. I mean,
and Mayday. Are you kidding? Grace Jones?
I mean,
Grace
I
Jones
actually,
and Daniel Craig. Come on.
I feel like I kind of like A View to a Kill more than most people do.
I do too. It's silly, but it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's better than some of the other Roger Moore movies, to be honest. I mean, you know, say what you will about some of the sillier Bond movies, but you know, when I rewatched Thunderball recently, I was kind of like, man, this is like, it's just like, it gets better in the second half, but like the first half of Thunderball is just boring.
It's funny, like
4328,
Thunderball.
4328.
Every person I speak to who watches it, I shouldn't say every, a lot of people, they agree with you that it's a boring Bond film. I think part of it is because there's a lot of underwater shots. Like when that movie came out. Well, when that movie came out, it was one of the earliest films. I mean, I can't say for certain it was the first, but like in between Goldfinger and Thunderball, that's when like underwater camera technology really advanced a decent amount. So that's why there's so many underwater shots, because it's like, well, we got this technology, we better use it, type of thing. So I could see that being like a reason for it, but it's like to slow it all, that it slows it all down. But I like that movie a lot. I don't know what it is. I really like that movie a lot. A lot of other Bond fans that I listen to on like other podcasts and stuff like that or interact with online, they're not a fan of it. I really like that movie.
I got the impression early on that it was considered a fan favorite, but
There's someone over there.
but yeah, I don't know. I had not seen it in so long. But yeah, it's I don't know. All right, what's it gonna be? 2255.
Kind of a
That's easy to
non-sequitur.
remember. 2255.
I'll write that down as well.
2255. It changes.
Kind of a
every
non
time.
sequitur. Can we give a shout out to like late 90s, early 2000s games that have like office complex missions at night with like a cityscape in the background. I always thought this was like some of the coolest like in terms of atmosphere. I just always really enjoyed that. Like Perfect Dark had a lot of that from what I remember.
I literally just noticed that before you enter the code, if you found the code, it shows the code.
Oh, well, there you go.
There you go. You know what I would actually kill to see though? You know, I like Pierce Brosnan largely because, I mean, Pierce Brosnan was Bond when I got into Bond, right?
Same. He was my first Bond.
6660. So, like, he was James Bond for a long time. But to me, I mean, he actually wasn't Bond for that long, really. But I would love to see what Timothy Dalton's GoldenEye would be. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I think GoldenEye is by far the best Brosnan movie, but
I somewhat hot take. I think The World Is Not Enough is his best movie in terms of his performance. I think the plot in The World Is Not Enough is one of the best in Bond movies. It's underrated. The thing that kills that movie is Denise Richards, and I don't know if it's direction. It also could be her lines, because apparently the director of The World Is Not Enough was Michael Apted, and apparently his wife wrote a lot of the lines for Elektra, which is why Elektra is such an interesting character in that movie.
Yeah.
She's one of the best characters in the entire Bond franchise. Like,
I
fantastic. Sophie Marceau is amazing. But she didn't write the lines for Denise Richards. So when you see Denise Richards doing lines like "someone's tampered with the bomb," it just doesn't sell it.
I've overlooked something. What? More plutonium?
Caviar, beluga.
Yeah.
It's not well written. Like, the plot of that movie deserves a better script, but I love that movie.
I mean, I have a big soft spot for The World's Not Enough as well, but I do think GoldenEye is the best one. But still, I mean, the best Pierce Brosnan. But I would love to see Timothy Dalton, because I kind of feel like Timothy Dalton might be my favorite Bond. I really like how he played the character. And I feel like we were cheated out of, getting more movies with Daniel Craig, or excuse me, with Timothy Dalton. Like,
I mean, we were.
I mean, I really would have liked to have seen much more Timothy Dalton.
Well, the reason, so he had a third movie in the works. You can actually find a screenplay for it somewhere. Like, I listened to another Bond podcast where they like read or like kind of went over the screenplay for his third movie that never ended up not being made. And one of the reasons, though, that it didn't get made was because right after License to Kill is when Kevin McClory came back into play and started like legal shenanigans again. And actually, real quick, that a weird side story to you brought it up earlier, Try, with the Never Say Never Again movie from '83 that was meant to compete with Octopussy.
Right.
Apparently, the idea of that, because McClory had the rights to just Thunderball, he could use James Bond since it was in Thunderball. He was going to create a rival James Bond franchise that was produced by Sony. And Sony would have the rights to it, type of thing, and that was going to compete with the Eon production.
I'm kind of surprised he didn't.
Well, I mean, like, I don't think it didn't end up working out because Octopussy won the box office battle the year it came out. And also, if you think about it, the viability of that, there's no longevity. Like, you can just he can only tell the same story over and over and over again. That's it.
Yeah.
Shadow Mask writes, have you guys seen the Sam Neill screen test for Bond in '86? I don't think I saw the Sam Neill one. I did see there was a James Brolin screen test for being Bond. The American actor James Brolin screen tested to be Bond. Isn't that wild?
Sam Neill, I could see, but
I could too.
Yeah, I could see that, but it would also be kind of weird. But I could see it.
Man, I'm gonna have to replay this after your, like, if I have time tonight. I have other games I have to play for the show. I actually
I've found it a few times. Like I've completed all of the objectives separately, but never in the same run. And I'm so limited on the ammo for this stun gun. I gotta find the computer that has the red screen, and that's where I install the Q worm. Oh, I think it's in the first half before I get to this central area, and I need to look for it this next time before I move along.
Oh man, how'd you fail? I can't read it
Someone
on
who
my
I
screen.
didn't see raised the alarm.
Son of a nutcracker.
Okay, so I have to find that red computer screen again. I don't remember where it was because it's an office building. How do you remember where anything is in an office building?
Unless you work there.
Unless you work.
Real quick, John Everett wrote in, have we already talked about favorite theme songs? We have not, so try. What are some of your favorite Bond themes?
Ooh. I mean, usually the theme, like the actual song itself, is usually not my favorite thing about it. It's usually when they do a really good job of integrating the melody from that theme into the movie itself. So I feel like Casino Royale does a really good job of that.
Yeah.
It's been a bit since I saw The Spy Who Loved Me, but I think it did that pretty well, if I recall.
Yeah, that one was Nobody Does It Better. That is my... Actually, sorry, I'll wait till you finish saying all your stuff, because I do have a favorite Bond song.
Me and a friend back in the day, we always we always laughed about the Goldfinger song. We always thought it was funny. So that one has always stood out in my head, maybe not for the right reasons. I don't know why, for some reason the Casino Royale one has always stood out to me. I like how that one is integrated into the soundtrack of the movie as a whole.
My favorite, I don't know if it's the best, but it's my favorite, is Nobody Does It Better from The Spy Who Loved Me. It's not my favorite Bond movie, but that song
is good.
I just really enjoy. The melody is so good. There's so many wild ones too. So
The Man with the Golden Gun's pretty fun, I think.
Man with the Golden Gun is bonkers because it feels like there's 6 layers in that song, where it's like, what I mean by like there's horns, there's guitar, there's brass, or I already said horns, but like it just feels like there's too much happening at once, and I kind of love that. I don't know what it is about that, but I kind of love that. There's what is it? I like Casino Royale. That's really good. And you were saying you like how when the song is able to mix in with the overall score, like you hear motifs of it.
I'd say that probably happens.
David Arnold does that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it happens. Oh, maybe I finally found the computer again. Okay, I think I can find it again. I can do this.
You got this. Try.
I feel like they probably integrate the theme to some extent more often than not, or maybe about half the time. But it definitely elevates the song for me when they actually do that.
There is also a really like wild history of alternate James Bond songs that were written for the movie, but the producers went a different direction. So one of the
I think you may have told me
earliest
some of these
examples I
before.
can, yeah, one of the earliest examples, and I actually have a way I could probably put my phone. I would have to turn the stream off on my phone. I wouldn't be able to see chat, but I could plug my phone in and play it. But I don't want to deal with I don't want to get you copyright striked. That would be bad.
That would happen.
So Thunderball, performed by Tom Jones. That was the one for the movie. There's an alternate version where David Brushhardy put it in chat. Johnny Cash recorded an unrequested theme for Thunderball. Yep, he did that.
Unrequested.
Alice, I didn't know it was unrequested. Alice Cooper.
Or I thought you said unrequested. Or someone in the chat said that. That's
David
kind of
Brush in
funny,
chat said,
actually.
in The Man with the Golden Gun, Lulu was the song they went with, but Alice Cooper did a take on The Man with the Golden Gun, and it is very Alice Cooper. It is very, very, very Alice Cooper. Pet Shop Boys did a version of The Living Daylights, which is kind of wonky to hear. What is it? Oh gosh, there's a bunch of others. Blondie did one, I think, For Your Eyes Only. She did her own version of For Your Eyes Only. There's one, Goldeneye. Oh, this one's nuts. Goldeneye. You know, it's Tina Turner sings it. Bono and the Edge wrote the song for Goldeneye. The incredible pop group Ace of Base wrote a version of Goldeneye. You know, they're the ones that did that. You know, that I saw the sign. You know that song. They did a version of Goldeneye, and they ended up releasing it, but they called it the Juvenile since it wasn't going to go for Goldeneye. They ended up calling it the Juvenile, which I thought was really funny.
Weird.
There was one for Tomorrow Never Dies, which ends up getting played in the end credits. And that's what's frustrating, because if you listen to the song in the end credits, you can hear that motif throughout the whole movie. Like Sheryl Crow's song isn't really used throughout the movie, but the song sung by Katie Lang was the outro one for the movie, and that's the one that David Arnold used the motif of. I think David Arnold did Tomorrow Never Dies. Hold on, there was BBA 935 wrote Radiohead did a song for Spectre. That is correct. I haven't listened to it, but I plan on listening to it for when my Still Bonding
You gotta be
Patreon gets up to
kidding me!
Spectre. Oh no, what did I miss?
The turret shot me, and it shot a security guard. I didn't shoot the security guard. Oh my gosh. This level. This level
has your number, dude. Holy cow. Oh no.
All right. This is the time. I'm feeling it.
Raise the alarm.
This is the time.
Then what is it? Probably one of the worst Bond songs. There's 3 Bond songs in my mind that I really just genuinely. There's 2 actually that I genuinely don't enjoy. One I think is bad, but it's like a guilty pleasure of mine where I know it's a bad song, but I love it. The guilty pleasure song is Madonna's "Die Another Day," which we talked about on our episode for it.
It doesn't do much for me.
No, it's not a good song. The whole Sigmund Freud analyzed this, all the weird lines, excuse me. So I like that song, but I can honestly equate it as like it's not a good Bond song. I like it, but it's like it's a guilty pleasure. The two Bond songs I really don't like. I don't like Sam Smith's "Writing on the Wall." He's a phenomenal singer. He was a perfect choice for to do a Bond song, right?
Which movie is that?
That is Spectre. He did Spectre. Writing on the Wall
Yeah,
for
that one
Spectre.
doesn't do much for me either.
It does, and it's frustrating because when they announced that he was the artist for it, I was all on board for it because he's like perfect for it. But what is it? The other one I really don't like is Quantum of Solace. It's Jack White and Alicia Keys. Oh my gosh, what's the name of it? You know what? Actually, I can look up the song real quick. I won't play it, of course, but Another Way to Die. That's what it is. Another Way to Die, which is the song for Quantum of Solace. What makes me what infuriates me is there was an alternate song that was not used for Quantum of Solace, sung by the iconic Shirley Bassey, you know, Goldfinger, Diamonds Are Forever, Moonraker. She did some of the best Bond songs, and it's called No Good About Goodbye, and it is phenomenal. Like, if y'all haven't listened to that song, you can look it up on YouTube. It is really, really good. I love that song so much. And the melody of that song is used as a motif throughout the movie, so it makes sense.
All right, there's another section. Please tell me I don't have to. Please tell me I don't have to not kill people in this part.
I sure hope not. But hey, you got through it after this attempt, so there you go.
Oh, it still says don't let security guards raise the alarm. So, oh boy. Oops, I accidentally changed the controls.
But this should at least be like a checkpoint for you, right? Like you shouldn't have to go back.
That is a checkpoint, but I'm checkpointed with one tranquilizer bullet.
Oh gosh. She sees you in the helicopter. Bond sees her. I know I'm a few seconds behind for what you see.
Oh, we're going...
Man, I love the lighting on here. Like, that's really cool. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's probably a flat image for the city, but still, that looks really cool.
It's not. I mean, of course, they're relatively
not?
simple buildings. They're just mostly just rectangles, but no, it's not a flat image. That
looks good.
Yeah.
That's solid. Man, I need to replay this game in its entirety. What, like, now that you're a couple hours into it, what are your thoughts on the game so far? Are you enjoying it? Like, do you think it's not as bad as you thought it would be?
Aside from this level, I mean, you know, it's pretty solid. Like, it definitely doesn't have the most modern feeling to the controls, which is to be expected.
No.
But you know, I mean, I've played this far into it, so I'd like to think that I will continue it. Oh, how do I? Oh, there we go. You know, so I'd like to finish this.
Oh, man, even like riding up the elevator, that's very
perfectly solid enough when you take everything into context, right?
Mm-hmm. That elevator ride really reminds me of
just economy. It's just a face inside a TV.
That is fantastic. It's like, and the worst part is, it's like so zoomed in, all you see is like the frame of the eyes and the nose.
Oh, wow.
Like that's really unsettling.
Huge projector TV, I guess.
Do you notice how like there is light being reflected on your gun, like when you go past the projector?
Oh yeah, that's actually quite impressive.
And you're playing this on original hardware, right?
Yeah, this is an Xbox.
Wow,
with HDMI
yeah, look at that.
Output, but still, you know, it's original hardware. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still like being sent on. Like it has to process. That's wild. That's cool that it actually, because a lot of times like the lighting, like what is it? When I was playing I mean, granted it's the previous generation, but I was playing The World Was Not Enough on the N64 for that guest spot I was on, and yeah, there's no like active lighting on it or anything like that. It's fine, but I actually legit I love The World's Not Enough for the N64. It's one of my favorite games. .007 moment.
Was that a bonus objective? Retrieve Nightfire files
Maybe.
from the secure. Oh wait, that was an added objective. Oh, but it's got.
Oh, well, there you go. Who just shot you?
What's happened up there, James? The street out front is swarming with security agents.
I can hear yelling.
it's
It's funny. I can hear a
these
little
turrets
bit
are
of
the
the
only thing
audio
that-
from the game in the
Oh
back.
my gosh.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Oh, no.
I'm determined to finish this level. I have to get to where I can
Do
save after this. This is definitely a frustrating stealth level, though.
I think I remember being really mad about this level when I played it as a kid too. At least you're not starting at the beginning of everything. You
Yeah,
know?
they do have checkpoints, which maybe not as generous as modern checkpoints, but still relatively generous for the time, I would say.
Mhm.
They don't make you replay the whole level. There's definitely like segmented things going on.
This elevator, like I said before, reminds me something straight out of Diamonds Are Forever.
Yep, exactly.
I think someone in chat, I apologize, I didn't see the name for it. Someone referenced it. I don't know if it was in reference to this, but just a little bit ago, they mentioned Diamonds Are Forever.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, I like this. Khalid Gamer wrote, Weird Al should have done a James Bond track.
Yes. I mean,
would have loved that.
has Weird Al never done like some kind of like at least parody? I mean, you would think.
There had
Maybe
I have
in
no idea.
maybe in it's been so long since I've seen UHF. I feel like I could see him doing a Bond parody in that.
I could totally. I mean, if he didn't, that's really surprising because you know that Bond's always ripe for spoofs and stuff like that. It's funny, you know, when I was really deep into getting into James Bond as a kid or when I was like early teens and whatnot, I remember a lot of my friends were really liking the Austin Powers movies, and I was mad about it because I thought the Austin Powers movies were making fun of James. I took it way too serious, man.
Yeah.
Like I should have just enjoyed the movies, but I was being like way too serious about it. And now I like the Austin Powers movies, and the sad thing is that a lot of Austin Powers movies aren't that far-fetched compared to some of the inspiration, especially with like if you look at like what is it like the biggest inspiration, obviously, or one of the biggest was You Only Live Twice, because Donald Pleasance's Blofeld is very much very much Dr. Evil. Couldn't think of the word for a second.
What's happened up there, James? The street out front is swarming with security agents.
Who's shooting? Oh no, why is it red? It makes it
These
okay.
turrets.
Yeah, man, those turrets are brutal.
They really are.
I could have sworn
Okay,
there
I
was
can
some way you
finally
could
shoot
take out the
dudes.
turret. I could have sworn there was some way you could take out the turrets, but I might be misremembering.
I shot them previously, and at
Did
least
it
when
fail
I
a
was dealing with
mission?
security guards, it did not go well. Like after they start shooting you, they go away after a bit, but I don't know, they don't
seem to react to it, maybe?
they don't blow up.
Huh. Yeah, I'm not sure then. I'd have to like I played this game so much, but like I'm honestly re-experiencing a lot of this watching you play. Like I don't remember much of this level. I do remember the frustration of like exploring around like that previous segment you were in, where like where it's like all the different layers of the office or levels, excuse me. Paul Blakeman, right? Charles Gray is the best Blofeld. I love him
which
for
one
how
was
British
that?
he is. He is Gray was the Blofeld in Diamonds Are Forever, and he was in the movie previous. He was in the previous movie as Bond's contact in Japan.
Yep. Okay, I need to get a password somewhere somehow.
Oh, sorry, not the previous movie, because in between Diamonds Are Forever and You Only Live Twice is On Her Majesty's Secret Service, where Telly Savalas was Blofeld in that. Yeah, Mr. Henderson. Paul Blakeman wrote it. Yeah, Mr. Henderson. Charles Gray has no neck. Does he not have a neck? Dimension writes it. I'm going to have to look up a picture of Charles Gray now.
Where is the password? There's a gotta be a password for that door.
Oh, Cinema Awesome writes in, the guns only activate if you trip the invisible security lasers. The only way to not trip them is to disable them via computer in the previous section.
Oh, I never found that.
I'd have to replay to like double check it all. I'm enjoying watching you replay this. Like I said, it's been a minute since I've actually been. Oh, that turret. See, this is one aspect of this era of gaming that I don't necessarily miss. It's like the aimless wandering, trying to figure out where you have and have not been, especially when the levels all look so vaguely similar, or lots of parts of the levels look so vaguely similar.
Is there a way to like hack it? Decryptor? Oh wait, he started to do something. Okay,
Oh,
1, 4, 2, 5. Well, there you go.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know if I could have done that on the other doors, but I seem to have no choice on this one.
I'm enjoying all the random like quotes from Bond movies in chat here. He would have been me if you had given the poor fellow a chance. I can't do an English accent, so I'm not even going to bother trying it.
Man,
I'm really bad
Sean Connery in Never Say Never Again, just like, I mean, he got this way toward is his original stint went on, but like, he just did not care at all about masking his Scottish accent. Like, not at all.
Pierce Brosnan, we talked about it in our Die Another Day episode. There's lots of times you can hear his Irish break out in the middle of that. Oh, it looks like you're on the last one. Escape to the roof.
Yeah.
Did you take the elevator, maybe?
Well, this doesn't feel like it's activating. So I'm not sure if there's another way I'm supposed to go, or if I'm supposed to... There are some stair exits.
Oh, maybe stairs.
Oh, crap. I skipped the cutscene because I was trying to interact with the door. Well, I guess I'll get a chance to see it again.
Oh, there we go. Oh, no. No.
All right. Well, I know what I'm doing now, at least.
That's the important thing.
I can't believe this elevator is timed exactly to go up before I could possibly get to it.
No. That's so mean. That's so mean.
Okay,
Then you're just sitting there to wait.
I know what I'm doing.
Excuse me. Yeah, I'm excited to see you finish this. I have a podcast recording session tomorrow. My voice is going to be shot. It's going to be awesome.
Do you have any sense of how far into this I am? I mean, it looked like the full mission list was listed on the main menu, so I can
I'd
check.
probably say you're about halfway, but you know,
that's
give me a
kind of
second.
the feeling that I got.
This is this night shift?
I think so. I think that's.
You're pretty far then. There's only 2 missions left after this, but they're probably.
Really?
Oh no, never mind. I'm sorry. Yeah, halfway. There was only 2 missions that I could see on the summary. There's 12 missions in total, and this is the 6th one, I believe. If this is night shift, which I believe it would be.
I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, we'll look at the. We'll look at the mission list after I finish this.
What's happened up there, James? The street out front is swarming with security agents.
Ah, there you go. That's a smart way to do it.
Yeah, they go if you get out of their view, they tend to go away.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to see like, man, this mission's tough. I could have sworn like this is one of those games that I played so much as a kid that I got to the point where like I could just, you know, I figured out like quick ways around everything type
Right.
of thing. So
I mean, same thing with me and
it's been
GoldenEye.
so long
right?
though. What? Sorry.
Same thing with me and GoldenEye. Like I just played the missions, you know, my way so many times, you know?
Yep.
You know,
is
I mean,
kind of fun.
GoldenEye was just such a great sandbox. You know, one of the few games that I would call like a sandbox game that I actually really got into. You know, for the flexibility of, you know, just all your approaches that you could make. I saw a few other people. I mean, I don't know if you've seen it since the stream started, but before the stream began, well, I think someone said so afterward. Like, you know, they were saying like, you know, this is one of my favorite games ever. You know?
Yeah, this game is buddies of mine, Mike and Neil, who do a podcast called Unlocking What Was Cool. They were originally called The GameCube Was Cool, and the Nightfire episode is still like one of their most downloaded episodes, even above like some Nintendo titles. So this game's got a lot of love amongst people in the community and everything, because it's not even just the Bond community, just in general. Like people look back fondly on this game, and you don't really. I guess because like when I've done my panel on the history of Bond and video games, the way I kind of describe it is like the history of Bond in games is a lot more interesting and varied than you'd expect, because almost any reference point for Bond it begins and ends with GoldenEye, and that's frustrating to me because there's so many good games that came out after, and there's lots of interesting games that came out prior. You know, I mentioned already. I already told the story with Raymond Benson and how he was a Bond author, but he actually made James Bond text adventures and eventually would go on to be a Bond author. But he also was the lead writer for Ultima 7. Oh, jeez.
How do you deal with this part? Like once you get out there, like they're just like really gunning you down.
I mean, I'm not saying for you to do this, but you could lower the difficulty, because I think you're still on
that is
operative
true.
or whatever.
Although I don't think I could do it mid-mission.
You never know. It's worth checking out.
Yeah, it's too. I mean, they would let you do that today probably, but I can do this. I can do it. I got it.
You gotta try.
I can do it.
But like some of the other early Bond games, there is 2 different A View to a Kill games that came out around the same time. One was the first of them was published by Marc, which did a lot of. it's interesting. Like there was a lot of James Bond games published by Domark in like the 80s and 90s, and then obviously EA took over, which is where we saw, these games, after GoldenEye, then The World Was Not Enough, and Tomorrow Never Dies, and this and all that other stuff. But Domark did a ton. They were kind of like the first publisher that had like a license. It seemed like a continuous license. They did two different. They did A View to a Kill, and then another publisher did A View to a Kill, which was the text adventure. So there's a text adventure, A View to a Kill, and then the Domark one was super interesting, and it was one of those games that combined a lot of different segments. So like there's like this maze chase. The first mission's like a maze chase mission where like the bottom half of the screen is what you see the city of Paris, because the whole thing, it's supposed to be like in A View to a Kill, after Mayday parachutes from the Eiffel Tower, Bond has to chase after her. So in this mission, you were driving a car trying to follow Mayday as she is parachuting. The problem is that you have to follow her around Paris, and she will land in one of 4 locations, and it's always in the corners. It's either top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. But you won't know which until you get there. So if you get there before her, you fail the mission. And even if you didn't, you don't know. You have like a 1 in 4 chance of guessing the right one. So you have to follow around. But what's interesting about it is the bottom half of the screen is the map. So where you are guiding the car around. The top half of the screen is a first person perspective of you driving, like a faux first person. Like it's like draw, kind of like Wizardry did, where it's like first person going through the dungeon and it's just drawn. It's like that. It's really interesting to see. And then there is the second mission jumps straight all the way over to like City Hall, where City Hall's on fire in the movie. And that one is like a point and click adventure where you're walking around, you're trying to explore how to get out of City Hall, and you have to get different items and walk back and forth. And it even has like a little, almost like, it's not King's Quest-esque, but it's kind of it feels very point and click-ish, and you can go around there. And then the third section is escaping the mines that you see towards the end of the movie, and you have to, it's like a side-scrolling platformer, exploratory platform type of thing. Like it's 3 different gameplay styles in one, and they try some really crazy things that you wouldn't think of. Then like the other Bond games that Domark published, they did The Living Daylights in 87, they did Live and Let Die in 88, they did 007 License to Kill in 89, they did The Spy Who Loved Me in 1990, and they did James Bond 007 The Duel, which is we were talking about before, that you asked about before. That was the Genesis game. They did that in 92. And then this one, it's not official. There was a 1991 game based off of Octopussy, but it was developed by BytePack for the ZX Spectrum, and it was unlicensed. It was an unlicensed point and click adventure game that was an adaptation of the movie. Oh no, you flashbanged yourself. Hopefully you're okay.
I was trying to see if I could do something, but that was a whoopsie.
I also found in my research, I didn't get to see a video of it, but I also found in my research there's a GoldenEye Tiger Electronics handheld.
Oh.
I don't know what to really expect of it, but it exists.
I mean, I was never really a fan of Tiger Electronics type experiences, but they had their place.
Same. Not the biggest fan for sure. I liked it well enough, but it was fine. Could have been better, could have been worse. I had like this like Ninja Warrior one, or no, it was like almost like a Ninja Gaiden type of clone.
Man, how can I take out these guys quickly enough? Like, there's just, when I was trying to take cover behind the rocks before, it didn't really seem to work out.
I have no idea.
I'm not sure if I'm supposed to do something about the helicopter. I mean, I don't really have Or is the helicopter with me? I can't tell if the helicopter is shooting me or...
Oh, you got on that one.
Huh?
Oh, sorry, you got on the elevator that time. I don't know
Yeah,
if you've
yeah,
done
yeah.
it
I've
before.
managed to do it the
go.
past couple of times. I guess I just got a little more efficient with my routing.
Not to rush you, but I do have work in the morning, so I won't be able to go for too much longer. I have to wake up at 6:45.
Well, let's make this our last attempt. And you may be right that maybe I should just lower the difficulty level. After all, I like to do at least the default difficulty in games, and the default was
What happened up there,
the
James?
easier one.
Apprentice
So
swarming with security agents.
no shame in going down to it. I don't want to have to play the whole level again though. But it should be easier.
Oh, I
After
see.
they do
That it seems like the reason those turrets shoot, you might hit an invisible tripwire. Like someone else mentioned that in chat beforehand.
Oh.
So I wonder if like if you can close the door again, they may not even be able to
Yeah,
shoot.
I was trying to close the door again, but it didn't seem to be working.
And this, I don't remember. I remember this mission being difficult. I just don't remember it being this difficult.
Yeah, it's definitely of the era, I would say.
Oh yeah.
Some
Oh,
of
yeah.
some of the less good elements of the era, I would say. You know, for the most part though, you know, I think the game has a lot going for it. But this level not great.
I like the visuals of it, like just
Yeah.
the overall aesthetic. But yeah, it is like, especially when you're replaying it so many times, and just that final area seems so insurmountable. I understand the frustration as well. Oh, to your right, to your right.
Oh,
There's a guy to your
maybe
right.
there's someone over there. What the?
Farther to the right.
I can't. Am I supposed to just run for that? Am I supposed to get on that helicopter? I didn't even see that
Maybe.
over there.
Maybe just run to.
Okay, I'm
You know
going to
what?
try
I'll
one
stick
more.
around
I'm
for
going to try one more
attempt.
time because I
Yeah,
did not.
do it. Just
I
go
didn't.
straight for the helicopter.
I didn't see that before. Maybe I just get on the helicopter.
This has been a ton of fun, Try. Thank you again for inviting me on.
Oh yeah. I mean, thank you for being available on short notice and having a good suggestion for what to play.
Oh, I mean, if you
I
ever
didn't
have me
know what
back,
I was
I'll
going
make
to play
you play.
today.
If you ever have me back, I will force you to play Ratchet and Clank because that's one of my favorite series.
Oh, I mean, I'm down for Ratchet and Clank anytime.
I love Ratchet and Clank
love-
so much.
Oh yeah.
If I ever get a chance to, I would absolutely adore
Happened up there, James?
being able to do,
Apprentice swarming with
like, somehow interview someone at Insomniac Games. Oh wow! I think you made it without them even getting.
Yeah, I think
wow,
I
that
think
was
I just
awesome.
was a little more efficient in how I routed through there.
Yeah. And Mr. Dots, thank you for the kind words. Excuse me. Hopefully, I didn't get too nerdy on all the random Bond trivia.
No, I mean that's
This is-
all,
there are
I mean
very few
people have
things.
got to enjoy some of the knowledge that you drop on your Bond podcast. So I think that's pretty fun. All right, I'm just going.
I don't get to-
straight over here. I don't know if it's going to work. Maybe this is all I have to do. Oh wait, that did get me some ammo. Oh, I collected a parachute. Wait, am I supposed to then jump off tower roof? Okay.
Oh, do you have the parachute?
All I had to do was I had to get the parachute out of the helicopter and jump off the roof.
Oh my, yeah. Well,
It
there
worked.
you go. There you go. You did it, and look at that cutscene. I know that's awesome.
Sorry to drop in like this, but would you ladies mind giving me a ride?
John Everett, we did mention Never Say Never Again earlier in the stream. Try talked about watching.
Yeah, I
somewhat
actually
recently.
watched it just the other week for the first time since probably I was a teenager.
And I went into that whole thing about the whole licensing rights thing, which I will not repeat again. that was a long-winded.
Okay, so there was I've done
explanation.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've done 6 missions, including that intro, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6
no
left.
apologies necessary, John. Don't worry about it. You can't expect someone to like watch a full like. You don't know what was said prior. No worries.
So I seem to be pretty much halfway.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So
If you ever want to finish it, I'll come back on.
yeah. Well, I mean, I'll probably try to finish it. Just off stream someday this week. So something I can hopefully do with just one more evening of gaming. Although I'm sure missions might get harder, but I might drop back to that agent difficulty since things were getting kind of spicy and frustrating in that previous level. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks again to Josh for being on. Hopefully we can have you on again sometime.
I'd be honored, man.
And,
This was awesome.
Yeah, everyone check out the Still Loading podcast. You can find several episodes with me and Coury on them. So yeah, just look
Very
that up on
recently,
Google. What is it? Stillloadingpod.com, I think.
Stillloadingpodcast.com. You can also find it on all your podcast feeds, as well as I have a YouTube channel, but like there's not like, Coury and Try, they put a lot of effort into their YouTube channel with like high production value. I just upload the audio with a picture of my thumbnail, and that's about it.
I mean,
But,
hey,
Yeah, so it's on YouTube at Still Loading Podcast. It's on Spotify, YouTube Music, Google Podcasts, though that's apparently going away, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff. And Coury was very recently on. He did an episode with Tiger Chainsaw, the other YouTuber Tiger Chainsaw, all about Zillion for the Sega Master System. We talked a lot about that. And then Try, you were recently on for both the Super Mario Fantasy Draft episode 300.
that was a ton of fun. Everyone should listen to that.
That was a great time. And then Riven, the episode prior to that. And you will be on again pretty shortly to cover a Dragon Quest game, which we will you'll all have to wait and find out which one he's going to be talking about.
All right. Well, looking forward to those. And thanks for everyone who watched and donated tonight. And Coury and I will see you next Sunday. Good night.
Thank you all. Have a good night.